9 hours and 6 minutes completed in this race so far as we reach midnight local time at Le Mans. We are going into the early hours of the race now. Myself, Chris McCarthy, Chris Sora with you to take you into 3 a.m. of the race local time. For those of you who've been with us throughout, we thank you for your company. If you've just joined us, a welcome to the race. What are you watching? It's the first round of the FIM Endurance World Championship. This the 24-hour race at Le Mans, which kicks us off. And what a challenge it is for them to start on, Chris.
Yes,
because for many, they've just been doing testing, and then they're thrown into this, the 24-hour race at Le Mans. But this, I think, Chris, is where it gets really challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the iconic race, of course, Le Mans. And like you say, straight into the deep end. There's the testing taking place throughout the winter, but early days yet. We're going to go down to the pits.
Mario, after the crash, you were doing a very good comeback, but the bike has to enter again in the pit box. What happens?
Yeah, we have an electronical problem. We have no traction control, no any control anymore. So when we come back, we find something that is broken, and after we try, and okay, it make more problem, and we have to find everything before we can go out again. So normally, I think we fix it. I hope we fix it, and we have no more problem anymore.
Well, the race is still very long. We hope we will have no problem and make a comeback again and fight for top 5. That's what is your target?
Yeah, this is really the goal, is to fight for the top 5, and the race is long. The night's gonna be long and cold, so just keep calm.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So there, of course, the interview with KM99. And being pragmatic at this stage, of course, like I say, it's breaking out the old endurance racing cliches, but it's a long race. We are only 9 hours into this 24-hour race, so KM99 tumbling way down to 18th position, 309 laps completed at this stage. But as you're saying, of course, still a long way to go in this one, and every chance for them to work their way back up the reckoning. The number 99, the machine, of course, the headline rider there, of course, Randy de Pune, Florian Marino, who is out on the track at the moment, and Jeremy Gorney also in that 3-man team. Now, of course, talking about some of the super stocks, we've got the number 55 leading the way, the National Motos Honda, 41, who've just popped into the pits now for another rider change, Kronburner RAC 41 Honda. This is an actual term, the Luxembourger, Chris Leach. That is, you can call somebody a Luxembourger. He was out earlier on, of course, running very well. And they're currently in the pits, and a lap down, 7th overall, second in the super stocks, the 119, currently in 3rd, Team Slider Endurance. They've been having a good, strong race so far. Chris Diller, 10th overall, and currently sitting on 315 laps. Kuro Incanido, number 25 on the Team Etoile. Very French-sounding name. It's a Japanese team, and there's a real mixture here. Japanese team on a BMW, German machine.
Right.
And one of the riders, of course, Shogo Kawasaki. So
yes,
all the manner of the nations there on the Team Etoile team.
Things that just shouldn't be happening within out there in terms of names, isn't there? People have found themselves into the wrong garages.
That could be awkward. Of course, one thing we were saying with the super stocks, of course, we saw earlier on when they come to the end of some of our stints, we've been commentating, they're coming towards the stage where they're replacing both the front and the rear tyres. So frantic work in the pits with the mechanics. You see, of course, the EWC machines have the more quick release, the factory sort of wheel changes, which are a lot quicker. It's all closer to stock-based machinery with the super stocks, and then physically having to get the bolts out and the spindles out to change the wheels. So really frantic to watch on the front and the rear. But 4 riders out there and 4 rider stints, and fatigue for the riders, of course, being very important as well.
Yes, absolutely. You know, the amount the riders are putting themselves through is huge. I was speaking to one of our pundits about this, Bradley Smith, actually, who is with us this weekend in a different capacity, and he was explaining that to me. The amount that the riders are putting themselves through is extraordinary. How much that they are having to do, and he explained to me how he's spoken to other riders about it as well. And when you get into this stage of the race in particular, and you're having to get up and get back on the bike, and your body is just reacting to you and saying, no, I do not want to get on that motorcycle, and I do not want to go racing. But you just have to. Is that smoke pouring off that?
Yeah, looking at the 99 there, a bit of smoke. We'll keep an eye on that. It's certainly nothing to worry about right now, but yeah, still just from the...
Don't know if that's just... Yeah, it did certainly catch our eye. I don't know if that's... of course, that bike has been down in recent laps. We'll monitor that, but that is a problem.
That is...
That does,
substantial bit of smoke there from the number 9.
And now he's noticed it. So the KM99 we're following, 17th place, you can see that bike was once battling for a podium position until Randy Depunier went down at the final corner. It's gone back down. It's had problems again in recent laps, and now it really is struggling. Let's have a look here at what KM99 is going to do. Is it going to come into the pits? Because there's definite problems going on here with this bike. No, it continues on.
We'll have a look at how it's lapping perhaps as well. Just about to cross the line, so lapping in the 1:39 region at the moment, which is, you would say, reasonably par for the course. Just crossing the line now, and well, lapping 1:38. So, and he has backed off there somewhat, going in towards the Dunlop curve. So maybe he's realised that there is something amiss with that machine. Yeah, he was lapping at what you would expect to be the reasonable pace for that bike. But yeah, you can see for yourself on the screens, of course, he has really eased off somewhat. I think that was the maybe the number 11 going past there as well. Of course, the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar, which is running well in 4th position right now.
Yes, that's another bike that has been down now. The only bike that really hasn't in our lead group is our leaders, believe it or not. All the rest have run into problems of some sort along the way, haven't they?
I think this, as commentators, this is where we've got to be very careful not to invoke the commentator's curse here on that team, because they've had a steady race so far.
Oh, we've already broken that.
I think we have.
Several occasions. Several occasions already, and it started pretty much from one of the very beginnings of the race.
From word go, it's been a very dramatic start to this race. Of course, we had the one of the favourites, the FCC TSR Honda team, going down the road quite a few times. And of course, the only about half an hour ago, the Tecmas MRB BMW team hitting trouble as well. So actually, speaking of the TSR Honda team, Honda France back machinery up to 31st right now, but they lost an awful lot of time at the start of the race, and it's just the classic can't lose the race at the start, but you can certainly go a long way without leaving. I guess as we see on here, the graph showing it's been a bit of a yo-yo race for KM99. Round about the 3 to 4 hour mark, we were commentating on these guys earlier on, of course, Chris. They were looking quite good to be maybe mounting a challenge, you would say, but as you can see for yourself, of course, now way out of the reckoning, and it's just about playing catch-up now for the rest of the race, I feel.
It is. There's going to be a lot more of that, so let's hope that they can just get to the end. Another bike that's had a up and down race. Yoshimura, they're a team that's had an up and down race. That motorcycle has been on the ground, and they are now trying to come back through the order. And you have to say they're doing very well. They had a traction control issue which was reported, which saw that bike have a high side coming round and up towards the final corner after a lengthy pit stop. They came back out down the lower order of the top 20, I believe it was. They've slowly worked their way through. Now they sit in 3rd as they come into the pits, I guess it's all about whether they can chase down that Yamaha, the reigning world champions. Mikkelček in second place in the BMW. Was really looking good. Their chase was on for them to go down and try and catch that Yamaha, and then they had a tumble of their own. It was Sylvain Gintoli, wasn't it, who came up to the final corner and had a bit of an issue himself. Yoshimura have wheeled the bike into the garage and are doing some work on that bike. They are assessing that one in the garage.
Keep an eye on this one, of course. When the bikes come into the garage, they are very limited as to what they can perform trackside. This is limited to tyre changes and refueling. So evidently just giving the machine a bit of a check over here, something that requires it to go into the garage. Any kind of maintenance on the bikes, they do have to pull them into the garage itself. So
now, have we missed something here, or is this just a standard procedure? Let's have a look. Yoshimura are in, and there is some assessment work being done.
It's fairly routine here, doesn't it? They've got the tyre warmers on, of course, which will be very important. I think we're about ready. Yeah, just a bit of routine maintenance here, nothing to worry about, and the rider still...
There we go, it's back out. Okay, so there we go.
This will be Greg Black, by the looks of things. Let's take the bike back out.
The pictures we saw earlier were a lot more chaotic, weren't they, when we had them go to work? But I think it demonstrated how well that team can communicate and how experienced they are in that garage, and got to give full credit to everyone in that garage and up and down the garages here in this paddock for what they do to get these riders out every time they come through the pit lane. It's not just about the riders out on the circuit, it's about the teams in the garages that make sure the bikes are in one piece to get out there safely. And now we see the number 12 heading down pit lane once more to rejoin this race and continue on. Nicolo Canepa currently leading the way out front so far. Ilya Mikkelček second place on that 37 BMW. Then we have the number 11 Kawasaki WeBike in third place. Greg LeBlanc in third. Yoshimura in fourth place as they rejoin the race now with Randy Grumanaka on the bike. Just coming up to 9 hours and 20 minutes completed here at Le Mans. Let's go in a little bit more, Chris, shall we, on our super stock class, the number 55 leading a race.
National Motos Honda looking good then, with Valentin Suchet. 326 laps completed at this stage, and they are 2 laps ahead now of the number 41, the Kronberner RAC 41 Honda that has the currently piloted by Martin Renaudin, and 119 Charles Dillier in third. The 119, the Slider Endurance on the Honda, having a good solid race so far. A little further down, the San Marino rider Luca Gennady. Oh, treble one. Oh,
here we go.
There.
To the left now. Who is that? That's someone travelling very slowly, coming through the chicane. Let's see who that is. I wonder if that's someone that's hit a problem and was rejoining. Didn't quite catch who that was. It gets a little bit harder, doesn't it, when
a little bit difficult at the night, isn't it,
when the sun is not shining, as we see Yoshimura travelling down. But as you mentioned, the likes of Slider Endurance, who are chasing their best ever result and what I think would be a first podium.
One of the few Aprilias in the race as well.
Yes, and Aprilia having a very good time in motorcycle racing currently. And then we have the 41, as you mentioned, as well. In second place, the Kronberner team, a National Motos Honda, who know how to win this race. They've been doing it for a long, long time. So they are no strangers to the front of the field. A real stable of this paddock, Chris.
This is the rider, I think, here that deserves some special credit. The number 12, Greg Black, who's had a difficult race, to say the least. He was caught out with the traction control of the bike earlier on this evening and threw it down the track with a nasty little high side, which really set the Yoshimura Motos team back on the Suzuki. Now sitting in 5th place, and of course they were down in the lower reaches towards the end of the top 20. And they really have fought back well, you would say. Greg Black currently sitting on 327 laps, 7 laps down on the race leader. So in reality, not too far behind, as the leaders now coming into, or not, the Mako Racing team coming into the pits. Very similar looking machines, but Mako Racing 10th in class, currently 20th overall, as that looks like the Martin Choi is going to get on the machine. Fairly standard stop there. And away goes Choi. So back out onto the circuit he goes. Say 20th at the moment, so still there in the midfield.
They're going along really well, isn't he? We're watching Yoshimura charging through the field. You mentioned about Greg Black, Chris. Overall, just a general great charge through the field, picking their way through traffic now. But it's the top 3 they want to get after. On board with Yoshimura, we see they currently sit in 5th place, just over 9 hours and 20 minutes complete of this 24-hour race here at Le Mans, the first of 4 rounds in the Endurance World Championship. Welcome to all of you on the live coverage. It's a pleasure to have your company. My name's Chris McCarthy, alongside me, Chris Sora. Please do send in your questions. We're going to be with you for the next 2.5 hours. You can get in touch with us on Twitter. Myself at Chris McCarthy 32 is my handle, and you can get in touch with Chris at Chris Sora as well. Use the hashtag 202424H Motos. Send in your questions, and we will facilitate them over the next 2.5 hours before we hand over to our co-commentators, Dave Goddard and Ben Rombold, who will take over from us then. Tom Gaynor and Simon Patterson will then come in after that. Well, it's when we were last in, Chris, it was definitely action-packed, and I'd say for people who are just tuning in now, I think we can expect the same over the next couple of hours. We can expect certainly a tough couple of hours ahead. It's this is where we really start to see the drivers being penny in the jar, the riders being tested, because the temperatures are going to be dropping. You're going to have to really be pushing on those tyres. And one thing that I was speaking to Brad Smith about as well is these riders, one thing they don't do is let off, do they? They are just pushing for those personal best laps all the time.
This is very true, of course, with the advances in technology. We, of course, to compare this to the sports car racing back in the day, of course, much like the bikes, it was as much a test of the machinery as the skill of the driver or the rider, whichever it may be. And the rider would be not only going as fast as possible, but also trying to save the machine as well. Such are the advances of technology. It's essentially, of course, Chris, a sprint over 24 hours. The riders aren't necessarily slowing the pace down all that much. I mean, that's the Yamaha's into the pits there. I think that's the one of the super sports, number 36, the Art Bester bike, currently 6th in class and 14th.
No. What's the cameraman?
Yep, that could have been a bit Jeremy Beadle there if it had been a bit too aggressive. There's the onto the machine now is the number 14. If you notice the armbands that the riders have, it's almost speedway style there. Of course, they have, of course, with the speedway have the different caps on the helmet. It's a similar principle, helping the spectators and us, of course, watching to identify the riders. So that's the yellow rider out onto the circuit, the Martin Choi on the Yamaha R1 there. So he will make his way, Christopher Kemmer, my apologies. He'll make his way back out onto the circuit now. Just going back, of course, Chris, to the lap times. And we were saying, of course, back in the day that riders would be nursing the bikes a little bit, saving the bikes. But when you look at the lap times, the best lap of the race being the BMW team in 2nd place, 1:35.904. To give a rough idea, the riders are lapping anywhere between 1:37 and 1:39, so they're not really dropping the pace. And I always think the fascinating thing, though, with a 24-hour race is we have the advances in technology, but the one thing that you can't really change is the human factor. Now, of course, humans always get tired,
Yes.
and it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. Not just the riders, but of course the mechanics, the people behind the scenes, and of course even little things like you've got to dry the overalls out from all the sweat and make sure that the riders are comfortable when they next go out. So it is still, well, the technology gets better, but the human element is always still there, and that's been since day dot, of course.
As the technology gets better, though, Chris, the human element becomes harder.
That's a very good point, I think, Chris. Yeah,
Isn't it? You know, because you can't.
There's more riding on it, I suppose, isn't there?
Exactly. You know, because the bike is always going to be there for you to perform.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's. I mean, I've never done a 24-hour motorcycle race, but I've done 24-hour karting, and it's even little things like it just feels unnatural to be getting up at 4 in the morning to jump into a machine.
But this is, but karting is. It was a similar comparison I had when I was having my conversation with one of our pundits here earlier. It's a similar thing, isn't it? Because it's the natural crossover. It's the same thing. It's your body's being forced through it.
Yeah, it's not
so,
it's just the physical endurance.
It's the physical endurance,
the
yes.
nutrition and the drink as well.
But as the bike is always going to be there for you to perform, the only thing that's really slipping is the tyre.
Unless you're on the KM99 team, of course, because they're back in the...
Yeah, maybe I could have picked my timing a little bit better on that statement as we watch KM99.
Generally speaking, should be the caveat there, I think, Chris.
But the bike will be there when these guys get it, when they get it back, but that's what they are working towards. But
this is classic Le Mans stuff here, of course. It's now getting into the early hours of the morning, and the mechanics are in the garage.
Yeah.
Prodding and pushing whatever they need to do to frantically get the bike back onto the course.
And this goes back to my earlier statement. It's the teams, isn't it, that are, you know, they would have been there first thing this morning preparing these motorcycles to be ready for start time of the race. Of course, the grid procedure is a long process, and the teams have to make sure everything is ready. And now, of course, we are into the early hours. We are
just gone over midnight.
Just gone over midnight, time. Yeah. Just coming up to 12:30. And these teams, I imagine, have been alternating as to who's getting a rest, if that's even the case. It's, you know, they are really being pushed through, are the teams here, and that's going to be the case until we reach the checkered flag.
Somebody with a lot more technical knowledge than me would be able to give a more accurate answer, I believe. That looks like one of the breeders there. We saw it did seem to be, the mixture seemed off on that bike. It did seem to be burning oil, or something wrong with the setup of the engine on that bike. And
I was going to say, you have our Twitter handles if you...
So should people know better about that, of course. There did seem some sort of issue maybe with the injection or the mixture on that bike. But of course, the race is still on for them. They've been in the pits now for another 10 minutes. But there's still a long way to go. It's approaching 10 hours of the 24, so there's every scope, of course, to get this machine back into the running. So with the mechanics, with a lot of work to do here. This KM99 machine was in the pits for a very long time, about half an hour ago, and out onto the track for a few more laps. They're looking at the cooling system as well, I think, a little bit as well as the mechanicals. Try and get more of an idea as soon as we can. There was an electrical fault earlier, wasn't it? So back in she comes again. And we'll get that machine looked into and try and get it back out on the track as soon as possible. The race goes on, of course, and shout out for some of the Brits as well, of course. We've got the all-British number 27 team, the French TRT27 AZ Moto Honda, with, of course, the headline name being, of course, Michael Dunlop, who very recently came back into the pits for the standard rider change. That team is currently sitting in 16th position, very close with the number 30 just behind them, Team GT Endurance. But of course, the likes of Michael Dunlop, Chris Walker out there as well. He's just come in for his rider change as well. Some of the old guard of British motorcycle racing, running very well in that super stock class. Yeah, if you want updates on any teams, give us a shout. In particular,
or let us know who you're cheering on for. Any riders in particular? We have got riders from all around the world completing 26 different nationalities, as we can see here, Chris, being represented in total. 18 French riders in the Endurance World Championship class, and 73 in the Superstock class as well. Pretty popular are the Italians out there as well, total of 15 of them, so 96 French riders in total, 15 Italians. We've got 9 from Germany, 6 from Switzerland. How many have we got from Great Britain? 11 there in total, but we've got them coming from all around. Argentina, Australia as well, Japan, 7 coming from Japan, South Africa, a couple coming from South Africa. They are coming from all corners of the globe for this event, and the team are having to work incredibly hard. Now, do we have any more of an idea, Chris, as to what we are seeing picture-wise of this? Because we're seeing KM99 working incredibly hard on this bike.
Looks like something to do with the oil system. There was the electrical issues earlier, so they got that sorted out, and it's kicked the problem further down the line on the motorcycle, maybe.
Well, it's great that we're getting these pictures delivered to us, so thanks to our camera crew up and down the pit lane who are giving these pictures to us live, so we can see exactly what is going on down in the pits.
Yeah, it looks like something almost like the oil tin.
Possibly,
yeah, the oil cooler there, and you can see the drip tray underneath as well, just to keep the garage keep everything all together, because last thing we'll be doing is losing any bolts or
I can say is out on track. We are just seeing pit stop phases, so we are seeing what is the main event of this race currently, and that I'd say we've got our riders out on track circulating. No real major dramas going on out there. This was once our podium contenders. As I say that, there we go. There we go. No major dramas on track. Cue major drama. Someone is going down. There we go. Talk about timing. I'll give you some timing. And now, who is that's gone down?
That was definitely one of the Superstock machines, judging by the red backgrounds. Just trying to...
Back to the
Kawasaki's.
Back to the garage we go. It's getting closer, isn't it, for KM99? We're going to keep monitoring this. KM99 very close to getting back out as we have a rider down out on circuit. KM99 continuing to work very hard, and brilliant pictures being delivered to us live. Progress on how they are getting on. This is the bike we saw go down by the leathers. That looks like that was who went down. Now, who is that exactly? Let's assess. That's Artec. Now, they were one of the first riders to go down. One of the first bikes to go down in this race. I believe they were the second bike in the race to go down in the first hour, and they've had another tumble.
So the Artec machine into the gravel, certainly not a serious incident there, back on the track, and maybe we'll pop that into the pits. We shall wait and see. Artec quite far down the reckoning at the moment. For those of you who are new to this, there is a very easy way to distinguish between the classes at night. Of course, during the day, the EWC classes with the white numbers on the black backgrounds and the Superstocks on the red. When you watch the bikes go around, you'll see some of them have the white headlights, others with the yellows. Whites are the EWC and the yellows being the Superstocks, the SST, so very easy to distinguish. And then, of course, nowadays you have the illuminated numbers as well, but still potentially very difficult to work out who they are at first glance sometimes. So you really have to pay attention to those illuminated number boards on the front of the machines as one of our Superstocks comes into the pits. I wonder if that's the Artec team, possibly straight into the garage. So yeah, it's going to give that bike the once over.
And hopefully that's all it is for them. Well,
hope so. It's
it
back
might
to
be.
KM99, I think.
It is, and that's the exhaust. That is the engine fired up.
Still quite smoky, of course. So I wonder if there's something wrong with the.
Oh no!
82 off the machine. That's
it. Yeah.
Super stock as well.
Yes. 82.
Uniserve currently quite far down the field, of course. That won't really affect the lead of this race. That's Vaseline, I think. That's Vaseline, the 82.
That's not the first.
Vaseline.
I was going to say, that's not the first time they've been down either, is it? We saw them going down earlier in the race. That might have even been in the first or second hour they went down. And that's why they're far down the order.
So back with KM99 here as they, again, checking the machine over. Hopefully they'll send that back out onto the circuit. So it was the 82 that went down. Ryder is reported as okay. We saw him picking the machine. There he is, right on cue. Vaseline, as this looks like Yamaha in for their scheduled rider stop. And taking the reins is going to be Karel Hanneke, who's had such a good race so far. Hanneke back on the machine as they sit 2 laps ahead of the BMW in second position. So here we are, 9.5 hours into the 24 hours here at Le Mans. I'm Chris Saurer with Chris McCarthy taking you through to the early hours. We are approaching 12:30 local time in France, and the real drama in the last half hour or so has been with this team here, the number 99, the KM99 team, of course, who are finally back out onto the track. They had a lengthy stop in the garage right about an hour ago. They sent that machine out. It was lapping quite nicely. And then all of a sudden it was smoking heavily and brought the bike back in for another 20 minutes, which has put them all the way down to, I believe, 33rd position. And of course, Chris McCarthy with me for a team that was potentially with a, you would say, a fairly good outside chance of victory coming into this event. That's certainly not what they wanted. No,
it really wasn't. Of course, a couple of incidents and then just smoke pouring off the back of the bike was the last pictures we saw before they had to bring that in. 20-minute pit stop, which again, a thanks to the team. We saw live pictures for, I'd say, a good 10 minutes of that, where we could see exactly what was going on, which was fantastic to see. And a thanks to the team for that, and it just highlighted how well that team is working, given that we are into the early hours of this race. You can get in touch with us on Twitter, myself at Chris McCarthy 32, at Chris Saurer as well. If you've got any questions, let us know. Let us know who you are cheering on for in the race. If you want updates on any team, let us know. Talking updates, of course, Hannes Suma did have a crash earlier in the race, has sadly broken his collarbone. Hannes Suma, that for the Techmas BMW team, has been taken to the hospital. So sadly, we will not see any more of him in his race. But the rule change, meaning the super stocks can now have 4 riders, mean that team will continue on in this race. They were leading at one stage that super stock class. They have now dropped down to 19th overall, which leaves them on the fringes of the top 10. But we wish Hannes Suma all the very best if he is watching on.
Yeah, poor Hannes Suma now, broken collarbone. That's a classic motorcycling injury.
It was a real fast incident as well, wasn't it? It was coming into the penultimate. It was here, actually, this very corner, coming into the Garage Bleu.
Easily done, of course, especially going into the gravel as well. It's an injury, touch wood, I've never had. Now, whether that's because I'm not going quick enough is
don't say that now.
open for interpretation. But yeah, it's when you get thrown off the machine, of course, if you're unlucky enough to land on your shoulder, it's almost like a fulcrum point, really. So let's hope the Suma will be okay. Real shame for him because he's having a wonderful race up in the early stages, but that's the way it goes sometimes, unfortunately. So Certainly past the Estonian Hannes Suma. The very best wishes on the Tecmas MRP BMW racing team, taken from the track with a broken collarbone, as the remaining riders look to bring that machine back into the reckoning. As things stand at the moment, though, it's Karel Hanneke just going over the line to complete the lap, lapping in the 1:38s and leading by just over 2 laps. As you look at Kruzov, the number 37 here we're looking at is Kruzov, the 6th participation for a new record of the woman with the most appearances at the 24 hours here. So she's running quite well in the midfield so far, the number 37. And charging on into the night right now. Is circulating quite well so far. So there we are, it's the record-setting female rider out on the track at the moment.
Great to see, really great to see. Records can certainly be broken up and down the field. BMW looking to try and do that at the front, but they've got a long road ahead of them to do that. Oh, as we mentioned, you can get your questions in. Claire Marshall has got in touch, tuning in after a great night out bowling with the family. I hope you had a great night. Great to have your company now with us on the live coverage. Hope you're going to be with us to enjoy what should be some great racing. Asking for updates on how's Team 27 getting on. Well, so far, we did just talk about them a little while ago. 16th, Thomas Oliver is currently out on the bike for them now, currently on the motorcycle. 16th, that leaves them in about 8th, 9th place in the class. In terms of, I know you want to know when Michael Dunlop is out. We're seeing rider changes fairly frequently. I can't.
I think Dunlop was in about maybe 20 minutes ago, wasn't he? I think.
Yeah. So
yeah, we should see him a little later on.
A little later on. So I'd say stick with us, Claire, on that one for a little while. Myself and Chris will be here for the next just over 2 hours and 15 minutes. Possible we may see him. We should see him during that time, hopefully. But Michael Dunlop has helped that team, as have all of those riders, get that bike up to 16th place overall, which would be a real fantastic result for them. And no doubt they will be looking to press on from there. They were 7th in the World Cup last year, 19th overall in this last year, and 7th in the Superstock class, so currently going better than what they were last year. One of the big stories of the race, for those of you who may be similar to Claire, who haven't quite been able to follow the start of it, Yoshimura were leaders of this race, weren't they, Chris, and went down here, coming around this corner. We had a high sider about there, at that point.
Approach towards the final couple of corners.
Yeah, with a traction control issue. Greg Black, who is on the bike for them now, was on the bike at that point. They dropped down the lower order of the top 20, and it's a charge on now to come back through the field. 47 seconds is the gap between Yoshimura in 12th to Randy Krumanacher on the number 4 bike for Tati Team Beringer, who went off in the gravel at the final corner earlier in the race as well. So 47 seconds, and they're lapping 2 seconds a lap faster. So that's a gap for us to monitor as well.
They've been full send, you might say, for the past few hours.
Oh, yeah.
Whether, if you missed that accident earlier, we'll hopefully see some of the recaps later on. It was a very strange tumble with the what was turned out to be an electrical problem relating to the traction control. And it just seemed to eject Greg Black off the machine. As we see some of the latter action here, it's all a bit tight and frantic in the night.
Is that on board the...
I assume this must be the Cert.
Yeah, that's on board the Yoshimura Cert. That's when you say full send, that's what you call full send.
Yeah,
well, they can't wait around.
We were talking a few minutes ago how things have changed over the years, where it's no longer a case of nursing the bike through. He's absolutely attacking every corner here. He's dicing his way through the gaps where he can, safely, of course. He doesn't want to risk another accident.
Well, here comes the other discussion now. And I know we'll get on to, of course, some of those teams a little bit further down. But I guess this is the case for the teams up and down. But in the case of Yoshimura, for the teams maybe at the head for the likes of Yamaha. They have, and this would be the case in sprint racing as well. They have now the option to control the race, and for that you're not pushing so hard into the corners. You know, they have that option now to start controlling the race, and with that you're not pushing your body and you're not pushing the wrist so much. But for Yoshimura, they're going to have to start taking the risks, aren't they? A little bit more.
Tricky one, because well, you can see on your screen here the lap time is very consistent for the CERT team, only about 1.1 seconds in the last 10 laps. It's a tricky one really as we move on to the 946 here at Le Mans. And CERT charging hard into the night. As we sit back on board with the Yoshimura CERT Motos Suzuki machine, piloted by the Frenchman there, the number 12 machine, Greg Black. And here he goes. But yeah, Colonel Harrikus currently lapping in the 138s. They're one lap ahead of the BMW. But of course, in reality, we're only looking about between 1 to 2 minutes in terms of time between first and second place. So building up a little bit of a cushion there, but the race still very finely poised. If you look at third place, the number 11, the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar machine, that is about 4 laps down on the leader right now. 345 laps completed so far to the leaders, 349, so 3 laps down as they cross the line right on cue. And the hard charging number 12 machine we've been focusing on for a couple of laps now. Just behind the number 4, the Tati Team Behringer Racing, the Honda. And through the Dunlop curbs he goes. Charging through there, and yeah, we're still finely poised with approaching the 10-hour mark. We'll have a rundown, of course. We'll look in a bit more detail to the running order, but suffice to say here that Greg Black really is charging hard here as he looks to get that Suzuki back into the reckoning. He's brought it all the way, or the team have brought it all the way up to 5th position as we look at the Tati Team Behringer. Number 4, the fourth place machine, and that looks to me like it is Corentin Pillari about to take over. This, I think, will be a fairly standard sort of refuel, possibly a rider change. Here we go, and you'll see, of course, the quick release rear tyre change there for the machine, a lot quicker on the EWC machines. As the riders share notes, that's the rider who's vacating the bike there, being Randy Krumnacher, the Swiss rider. But you see, of course, how quick the EWC machines are able to change that rear wheel. Get a new bit of rubber on the back, and he's about to get himself back into the reckoning. They're running quite well so far, though. Team Behringer Racing there, Chris. Good, strong, solid race for them so far. Number 4 in 4th place.
Yep, given the dramas they had earlier, they're going along really well so far. 4th place, as you said. We're just watching this pit stop being performed, and there you go. And we can see being pushed away now and down pit lane, rider change, and just look at the stint as well. Real long stints. Where he's been a little bit of time since we've seen him back on the bike, shall I say, is what you know, a good couple of hours, and now has to jump back on after almost 2 hours and 48 minutes, I said, and get back on the bike now. Refocus yourself. We're back on. 9 hours and 50 minutes. We're approaching 10 hours complete here at Le Mans of the 24-hour, this famous 24-hour race, which has been going since 1978, and it's the first of 4 rounds in the Endurance World Championship. Great pictures being shown to us on what has been a dramatic race so far, particularly for the Yoshimura team, coming in as one of the favourites, multiple winners in this event, but it's fair to say they have had an up and down race, quite literally at times. Wasn't long ago we saw them bringing the bike into the garage and having to perform some work on that bike, and you could see as they came into the garage there was definitely some messages being delivered to the team, and they got to work straight away. That bike came back in a bit of a different state last time we saw it in the garage like this, after the Yoshimura bike went down earlier in the race. This time a little bit more straightforward work being done on that Suzuki, and then it came back out for a refuel before we saw the Yoshimura go back out. Greg Black jumped back on the bike, and they are now back out there in the race once more. 4th place for them, and they are chasing down the top 3 in what has been a great recovery story, and one of the great stories of this race. Thank you to those of you getting in touch with us. Myself, Chris McCarthy, Chris Sora. You can get in touch with us at Chris Sora, at Chris McCarthy 32. Amelia getting in touch here to say she's recently got interested in the biker scene and would like to know if there's any clear favourites, and wishing all the bikers a safe race. Watching in from Germany. Well, I can tell you, first of all, Amelia, thanks for your question. Great to have your company. We've got 9 riders out there in total from Germany. One of the interesting stories, I guess, to answer your question, Yoshimura definitely one of the favourites coming in. This is part of a championship, the Endurance World Championship, and Yoshimura were vice champions last year, so they were one of the favourites. And then the number 1, Yacht Yamaha, were our reigning champions. But I think one of the big stories, Chris, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, I guess this could be a good time to bring it up. We've got 3 manufacturers fighting for their 15th win, haven't we, overall, in the likes of Kawasaki, Suzuki and Honda, and then Yamaha going for their 5th and BMW going for their 1st. But I guess our favourites come from the Endurance World Championship. You can see the logo down to the bottom right of your screen, and this is just the first of 4 rounds. We go to Spa next for an 8-hour race, Suzuka for an 8-hour race, and then the famous Boulder at Paul Ricard, which is a 24-hour race.
And if you're looking for the different classes, of course, the EWC teams with the black dot on your timing screen on the left-hand side, the Super Stock being the red dots. And right on cue there is our leader of the Super Stock class, the National Motos Honda, number 55. Certainly amongst the favourites going into the Super Stock class. And looks like Souchet on the machine right now. Sebastian Souchet, one of the Swiss brothers on that machine, making his way around the course. Now, of course, the Super Stock being a lot more closer to a production setting. One of the most notable differences you see when they come into the pits, they have the more production-based wheel assembly, so the pit stops naturally take a lot longer as well. And fairly close, of course, because the 7th place overall, 2nd in that class, being the number 41, the Kronberner RAC 41 Honda machine, currently 2nd in class, piloted by Martin Renaudin at the moment. And as you can see, they are on the same lap after nearly 10 hours of racing, 1 minute and 15 seconds separating these 2 teams. So certainly Superstock still finely poised. Now, of course, we lost the Tecmas MRP BMW team. I think they're just getting back into the top 20 now with Jan Böhn, the German rider, on the machine right now. So they're fighting their way back through the reckoning. But certainly very close tussle in the Superstock class as we approach the 10-hour mark.
Yeah, National Motos Honda, who took their first podium here, Chris, in 1992. I mean, and they've been racing this since the 70s. 71, they've been racing in this championship. It's been astonishing.
Really.
It's astonishing.
A lot of teams tend to come and go over the decades, but to be sticking at it for so long.
Yeah, I mean, they were overall winners of this race in 2006. So when I say they know how to win this, not just in the Superstock class, they know how to win this overall.
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
But to think they got their first podium in this in 1992 is quite astonishing. And they are they were second in what we call, for new fans to this championship, the World Cup standings, which is for the super stock class. So they did very well in that last year in the super stock class, and they will be looking to try and go and get that title if they can this year. Our super stock champions last year, we saw coming in were the Team 33 Louis April Moto, but it sadly has been a difficult race for them.
Of course, the champion here, of course, Chris, is alive and going as we speak, around number 1 of 4, but points have already been awarded. Of course, got the qualifying points, and there are periodic points awarded depending on the positions throughout the race. So as things stand at the moment in terms of the championship in these incredibly early stages, the championship leaders now, of course, being the Yamaha team on 15 points, with second in the championship Yoshimura Cert Motor. Of course, they did very well in the qualifying, so they are second in the championship right now on 11 points. BMW third on 10. A Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar currently fourth in the series on 8 points. Tati Team Behringer fifth. KM99, of course, they've had their disasters in the last hour or so, but they are still sixth in these very early stages. So, of course, does reward the performance throughout the race as well as another one of the super stock teams in the pits for Honda No Limits, 7th in class.
That's
a little bit of more work. So this and see who that is, the No Limits team. Number 15 with the green rider, of course, so that will be Alexis Lemire, one of the French contingent. Like we say, of course, though, Chris, even though the race is still a long way from completion, points still on offer depending on the positions throughout the race.
Yeah, and that happens again, doesn't it? We see points go out every 8 hours, effectively. We will see that happen again a little bit later into the race. We'll see another points tally, and then when we complete the race, we'll know, okay, that was very quick work, as the team now wheels that bike back out. And we're going to see rider back on and push back off. Great work there, of course, to get that back. That there.
Rulings there, of course, Chris, being that any kind of non-basic maintenance, i.e. no anything apart from tyre change or refueling, the bike's got to go into the garage there. So that's, of course, why we see the bike going into the garage. But like you say, very quick pit stop there.
Yeah, it's getting it out, isn't it? And then pointing it in the right direction. It's they're very heavy bikes.
Oh yeah, when they're stationary, they're not the easiest things to manoeuvre about, are they? Well, and about 150, 160 kilos.
And that's why we saw a team under investigation earlier, because they rode down the circuit the wrong way briefly, because they found themselves facing the wrong way. Yoshimura.
They had a ride-through penalty early, didn't they? We were wondering about that earlier on, weren't we? What would happen? We saw they were under steward's investigation.
Yes, they did, yeah.
BMW into the pits, and I was watching the lap charts there with Mikalczyk just dropping a few seconds per lap on the leaders, and coming into the range, I think they may jump into second place on the pit stops, the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar team. Just gaining on the track in terms of the lap times. Gregory Leblanc on the Kawasaki currently in third, so Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar, I think really starting to, they're about 2 laps down at the moment. They're just slowly gaining on the BMW, which looking at the lap times, they were losing a few seconds per lap. Whether they're just pacing themselves, I don't know. On the Yamaha now, of course, the BMW having a little bit better range than the Yamaha, and it did seem they were starting to close that gap on the leaders, perhaps taking advantage of that as well. There is the third place machine we were talking about a few moments ago, Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar, currently piloted by the Frenchman Gregory Leblanc, and sitting comfortably in third place right now. Notably, of course, we've got 3 tyre manufacturers in the top 3. Bridgestone are leading the way with the Yamaha team. The BMW sitting on the Dunlop rubber. And the man we're looking at right now, I think he's going into the pits, Gregory Leblanc, sitting on the lead Pirelli runner as Leblanc comes into the pits for what I think here, Chris, I would expect to be a fairly standard rider change. May possibly be looking to replace the rear tyre. And into the pits he comes, so let's have a look. There we are, the Kawasaki Weebot Trickstar off the machine, preparing the refueling. And handing over to the, I think this will be Christian Gamarino, I believe, getting onto the machine. There we are. So what looks to be a fairly standard rider change, refueling, and away he goes. BMW just going out onto the track as well with the evergreen Sylvain Grintoli back out on the bike now, currently second and sitting 3 laps down on the lead Yamaha team. So Yamaha looking very good at the front of the field right now. You'd say realistically about 5 or 6 minutes ahead of the chasing pack right now, as again you just see the slightly weary look on the face of the riders as they return back to the pits here. Of course, Blanc just saying how things went, and yeah, like we're saying, an endurance race here, of course, it just goes to show that the human element, not just for the riders but for the mechanics, the ancillary staff who are looking after the riders, even little things like the kit. They've got to make sure the kit's all dried out. A lot of the different helmet brands there, of course. You've got Shark, Shoei, of course, all the major manufacturers, all the major helmet manufacturers will have the rider support here, so they'll be going off to the various manufacturers' prep areas to get the helmets prepared for their supported riders, get them cleaned off, perhaps repair them as they need to as well. Of course, little things like that, of course, the helmet prep behind the scenes, it all takes place that we don't see down in the paddock.
No, that's a very good point. Small things like that make a big difference, don't they? And it's the time that it takes to get all those things done as well. As we are 10 hours now into the race here at Le Mans. Karel Hanneke on that Yacht Yamaha bike. You can see the number 25 we're watching, currently 5th in class here, Chris, a little bit further down, the all-Japanese rider lineup.
With the most French-sounding name, I think, Team Etoile.
Team Etoile, yes.
Of course, the Japanese, the Suzuka 8 Hours, long-established motorcycle race. It's a nation that's well in tune, you would say, with endurance motorcycle racing, the Japanese.
Yeah, definitely is, and that's of course a tough race in itself. Spa likewise. Beautiful, great calendar overall, isn't it? This just the first of those 4 rounds. 10 hours we are in to the race. Heading in to the night, 10 hours now on the clock here at Le Mans. Team Etoile, we see pictures of them out on track, the team in the garage. Some get well soon messages from them. Great to see that they have some messages going out from their garage as well. As we have a crash for the number 34, it seems. Now, that's at turn 3. The number 34 is the JMA Racing Action bike, which has gone down. Let's see if we are delivered anything from that. We are currently in the Team Etoile garage, which we saw, the all-Japanese rider lineup, which are currently running down. Team Etoile, the number 25. Let's pick them out on. They're currently running in 13th, so they're doing really well. 5th in class, as we saw. It's been a really solid start to the race for them so far. Team Etoile, I think they'd be very happy to have reached 10 hours in and find themselves in this position, fighting up. It's, of course, as we've mentioned a couple of times now, part of a championship, so it's not just this race, it's the points you're going to be putting on the board after the 8 hours, and then again when the next points system comes around as well. And then
of course,
again,
those little points, I think, Chris, they sound trivial, don't they? Like 5 points here, 10 points there. But when you get to the business end of the championship later in the year, they're the ones that can be the difference.
Well, you say that our super stock came down to about 5 points last year. That was all it was. That was the difference between winning and losing the championship. It was incredibly close last year.
It was definitely, I think you're quite right there, Chris. Of course, you almost say like one team's on 15 points, one's on 11 in 10 hours into the race. It almost sounds trivial, doesn't it? But yeah, very important indeed, even in these early stages. It
makes a big difference, a big difference. And that's not a long time, is it, between the two Superstock leading bikes either. 55 National Motos Honda and Kronberger RAC 41. Still, currently, as we look at it, they're not that far. 1 minute and 18. That's not a huge distance in a race like this. Tip the bike down and everything changes. Of course, we're in pit stop phases now as well. Team Slider Endurance in the top 10 as well. They're currently serving a pit stop. And up and down, we've got loads of pit stops going on, which means loads of rider changes coming with it, as we are just over 10 hours in. Ten hours, 7 minutes complete now. And we are just heading up to the final corner. Temperatures dropping all the time. And with that fatigue settling in for the riders and the teams as well. We just had an incident for JMA Racing Action Bike. We didn't see it on screen, but it was reported to have happened here at turn 3, which would have been coming through here at Dunlop Chicane. Oh no, and we've had another incident. Now we can see that's one of the green armband riders. Let's find the bike. There's the bike. Can we get a number now? Asking for assistance is that rider, but that bike does not look in a state to go anywhere, does it? Not from this angle anyway. Let's and I think that's what the marshals are trying to signify. And I think the rider now is starting to realise, oh dear.
I wonder if that's Honda No Limits possibly, number 44. We'll find out in a moment, just going on the... Yeah, certainly is, there we are.
Good
so
spot.
8th in class, 16.
Oh no.
Oh, that'll be Thomas Oliver, the Brit, on the machine right now.
Oh no, Honda No Limits.
Running well, weren't they? So
here we go, Chris. Talk us through this.
So here we go, this is through Dunlop, I believe. Oh, it's almost like your classic... no. That is, if they get that bike back into the race, it's going to take quite some time. Ryder fortunately appeared well. We saw him straight back on his feet. Ryder okay, bike coming off quite worse. It's almost like your classic nighttime spill where the grip just disappears away from you and washing out into the gravel trap. I say Ryder fortunately okay. That's the British rider Thomas Oliver, I believe. So we'll have a look as you head towards the 10-hour mark as to what else has been going on out onto the track. So we're now sitting on the 10-hour mark, and we'll have a look at how things have been carrying out so far. The classic Le Mans start, of course, where the riders run to the machines. And it was almost like some kind of World Superbike MotoGP style sprint race at the start, of course, with the number 12 fighting away, of course, with the number 1, the racing machine, number 55, also looking strong in those opening stages. Karel Hanneke had a brief excursion off the course, pushing hard in the early stages. The pace in the opening hour or so was very strong. And we also saw early drama in the first hour with FCC TSR Honda dropping out of contention with a couple of hefty spills. Bike fairly well damaged, but able to get it back onto the track. And of course, a potential victor dropping out of contention very early, the treble 3 Gonzalez Racing out of contention. Then we saw this rather peculiar high side. The bike setup not quite there. Traction control catching out the number 12 of Greg Black. And they really have been playing catch-up ever since. The main challenges in the early stages, KM99, of course, they had their issues off track. And this was only really the start of their trouble as well, as they've dropped really way down the reckoning with the mechanical issues. Number 33, the Team Louis team, really having a nightmare in the early evening as they managed to fight the machine back into the pits. And we saw this really heavy tumble earlier on for Motos events, which brought out our only safety car, touch wood, I would say, so far. Only the one safety car that was a big crash going into the Dunlop curve. Taking a few minutes to get that one sorted out somewhat. And then the night stages of Le Mans, and this is where, of course, the rider fatigue and the cooling track temperatures catching out a few riders. The number 9, of course, Tecmas MRP BMW, Hannes Suma, suffering a broken collarbone in that crash that we just saw a few moments ago, and rider hopefully not too seriously injured, but they are really chasing through the pack as number 12, of course, really playing catch-up quite well. Greg Black on the machine into the night as the CERT team taking a few bits of general maintenance, and they really have been pushing hard through the night. CERT Yoshimura, CERT Motos Suzuki currently sitting in 4th position, with Greg Black, of course, running hard as they make their way through into the night. But at the moment, of course, with 10 hours completed, the Yamaha team have so far had a fairly smooth, steady race at the front. Not really challenged for much of the race after the first hour or so, when some of the leading contenders have dropped out of the reckoning. So at the moment, you would say that Yamaha sitting alone as the team to beat at the 10-hour mark. They are 4 laps ahead of the chasing BMW team. I was looking at the lap charts earlier, Chris. It was interesting to see they did drop the pace about 10-15 laps ago prior to the rider change. You can totally back on the machine now and just starting to match the leading Yamaha. So here we go. Yamaha leading 365 laps, BMW 3 laps down in second. The third place, number 11, Kawasaki Weebach Trickstar, 5 laps down in third. Yoshimura CERT Motos 6 laps in fourth. Tati Tim Berenger 7 laps behind in fifth. And the first of our super stocks being the National Motos Honda, the old favourites, of course, and they are sitting in 6th place with Sebastian Suchet aboard that machine right now. So Yamaha 365 laps down from BMW Motorrad World Endurance Team. As you can see, Bridgestone leading from Dunlop from Pirelli. So the tyre wars in the EWC very much wide open at this stage. Of course, all the super stocks running the Dunlop as the spec tyre supplier, but we have got the tyre war in EWC as well, and we're wondering how this would go into the night, but still fairly wide open. Motorbox Kremer Racing running out the top 10. Avia Bike also running well. The all-Japanese lineup of Team Etoile, the Japanese team on the BMW, 15 laps down, currently 12th overall. 3R Best of Bike in 13th from Slider Endurance. They've had a great race so far, 14th overall. The all-British lineup, TRT 27. Michael Dunlop, of course, joining the team this year. They are currently sitting in 15th position. Dunlop vacating the machine about 40 minutes ago. Team GT Endurance in 17th place. Tecmas MRP BMW, of course, fighting back Suma out of the race. So they will continue with 3 riders currently in 18th position right now. Honda No Limits a little bit further back, rounding up the top 20. And the team very much on the fight back, 26 laps down right now, 25th position. FCC, TSR Honda France from TSCP Racing, well and truly buried amongst the super stock competitors right now as we head towards the 10-hour position. One of the experimental machines there, the Matisse JBB team, they had a bit of an excursion earlier on. KM99 all the way down in 33rd position, and of course we've lost the number 15, the Aprilia, and I think one of the first retirements from the race, of course, being the Honda Ultimus Racing machine, dropping out with the engine issues, of course, Chris, very early on in the competition. So one of the leading contenders out in the early stages.
Yeah, great stuff. Cheers, Chris. Let's just confirm those retirements so far. So Pit Lane Endurance, 86. Big problems for them. It looks like we may have lost them. Likewise, 212 as well. Work Motors Events. the 85 likewise as well. Here we can see them on screen. Team Louis, April Moto out. The 333 Honda Viltaz Racing out as well. So those are our current retirements. However, we think we are about to add another one to that list, because I don't think we are going to see the Honda No Limits bike back in this race. That was a huge crash coming down into Les Musées. The rider got up and was fine running back to the bike. So that is the most important thing we can say from that incident.
I think one thing there, Chris, was the body language between rider and the Orange Army, the marshals. The rider was almost hurrying the marshals up to get the bike picked up.
They
and the marshals
said,
were like, well, that's not going anywhere.
That's not going anywhere. And then it hit the rider when he got over to the bike. Given how dark it is around the circuit, once he got over and assessed it properly, the body language then changed, and that's when he thought, yeah, that really isn't going anywhere. It even from the angles we were being delivered, it looked in a very bad way. So I think 5 teams might become 6 on that list very shortly, and that would be a real shame for Honda No Limits, because they were running in 16th place, and it was Thomas Oliver it wasn't Thomas Oliver, sorry, it was
it was Alexis Masbou. I think looked like he'd got very recently. It must have been one of his first laps out, I think.
Yeah,
he was.
We'll keep an eye on them, though. It was a real big high side, wasn't it?
I think if they are going to get back into this race, it's going to be one big rebuilding job for that team as well, because that bike really did sustain quite a bit of damage. But of course, from a safety point of view, the rider at least was able to let go of the machine nice and early, and the bike was able to have its accident separate from the rider, which is always the main thing, I suppose. Yeah. Rider okay, which is the crucial part. And let's, like you say, Chris, let's hope they get back into the race. Like I'm not going to be too optimistic, unfortunately, but yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one.
We will. We'll monitor it now and see what can happen to them throughout the Honda No Limits team. We'll keep an eye on their progress and see if we can see them getting back into this race. There's the TRT bike.
Thomas Oliver.
That's Thomas Oliver, who we did just mention.
So this is certainly one for the Brits, I think, the British audience, the all British rider lineup, and of course the most notable one, household name you might say, being Michael Dunlop, but a very strong contingent, some very experienced riders on this team. And Thomas Oliver currently piloting the machine, taking the bike out for his rider stint. He's been on the track for quite some time now, the number 27, as he makes his way through the mid part of the course. And there is Oliver. We're just going to focus on him for a few moments. They are currently sitting 15th overall, very handily placed right on cue. He's going to bring the bike into the pits. I believe this is going to be a fairly routine stop. So Tom Oliver, former British Superstock champion in 1000 and the 600 categories as well. Real up-and-coming rider a few years ago, and certainly a very strong lineup of riders. As Oliver brings the bike down, let's have a look at what's happening here. So here we go into the garage. So a little bit of routine maintenance, I believe. Of course, nothing to be too alarmed about here, Chris. If anything apart from the tyre changing and refueling, they've got to bring the bike into the garage. So nobody looks too concerned in the pits here, I think, Chris. This looks like a fairly, one would say at first glance, this looks like a fairly routine. Maintenance here.
Correct. Yep. As you said, I think you're absolutely right on that one.
Oliver's keeping the helmet on as well, so I think he'll be piloting the bike back out of the pits just as soon as they get this sorted out.
Looks like
the ECU maybe.
Doesn't look like there's another rider on standby getting ready to jump on that and get back on.
This all looks very orderly, and nothing at the moment suggests there's anything other than routine. It would be a shame if not, because they are running quite strongly at the moment. We saw Ben Luxton earlier, of course. He was out a little earlier in the evening, and he was running well as well. Of course, Tom Ward also in the team as well. Some very experienced Superstock riders here. Of course, Tom Oliver competing in the British Superstock 1000s in 2021, and experienced endurance rider as well. So they've been in the pits, as you can see here, Chris, just under 2 minutes, just checking the machine over.
Yep.
I think it is fair to say, of course, Chris, that at some stage they will have to bring these bikes into the garage just to give them the once over as well.
Yeah, it's just going to be routine stuff by the looks of it, and they're just and by the fact that they aren't rushing this, we've seen what a small mistake in these pit stops can do to you. In this one small wrong setting, you know, and I'm not saying what we saw earlier was due to that, but if the team get anything wrong here, then the rider can go back out there and experience a completely different bike. So I think that's why we're just seeing them take their time here.
They've got some of the basics like the chain loop going on as well.
Just better to take your time, isn't it? So that when you get back out, everything feels as it should.
This is where you just revert to the basics as well. It's just everyone knows their job. You just got to stick to the job and keep it simple at this stage.
Hard though, isn't it, for the team? They've almost got to forget at this point that I imagine hard for the mechanics there, because you can just hear the bikes screaming past you every 5 to 10 seconds, and with that you sense that your time's going. But you just got to remember, I guess, as someone, this is your moment to do that. Every team's going to be in this position at some stage.
This is the thing, isn't it? Just suppressing that basic human instinct here.
Yeah.
It sounds terrible if you listen to the bike screaming by outside and yours is in the garage.
You just want to just rush this process, don't you, completely? But this is where the experience of this team is being shown, isn't it? You can just see they're not there. And I imagine this is a process that they rehearse.
Definitely, I think,
several times.
Everyone's got their job, and everyone's getting into this. We got back on track here to our leaders, the Yamaha team, with Karel Hanneke well into his nighttime stint at the moment, the local time being approaching 1:30. And at the moment, Yamaha leading the way and looking strong at the front of the field. So as the leader makes his way down the pit straight, heading towards the Dunlop curve and the Dunlop chicane. This is, of course, the part of the track that is the same as the Circuit de la Sarthe. Running, of course, the Motos running on the famous Bugatti circuit. So you'll see the difference now as we go through the Dunlop chicane. Right on cue with our leader on the Yamaha, moving through towards La Chapelle. They turn to the right now into the infield, as it were, and onto the main Bugatti layout. We were saying earlier, of course, Chris, this track opened in the mid-1960s, long-time MotoGP venue.
Yeah.
And of course, it's for 1 year only was a Formula One venue as well, back in the 60s as well, 1967. I think it's a circuit that's aged very well. Of course, people always think of the Mulsanne Straight and the Circuit de la Sarthe, but this Bugatti circuit, it's a demanding enough venue. It's got a bit of everything, all kinds of corners on there, of course, the slow hairpins, some lovely flowing sections as well. It's really aged very well.
This is one of my favourite parts, into this chicane here.
This is nice.
The elevation there, you just drop down, and then after coming through that fast chicane, you're coming to another which has a bit more of a pinch point. People get tempted for a move into this left here, which we've seen in Grand Prix racing in recent years. People try and moves into there and it going horribly wrong. You've got to sacrifice speed there to hang over to the left and then come into this chicane. And when you see them all bunched up through there, as we saw on the opening lap, our leaders going shoulder to shoulder through there with moves being made. Brilliant pictures, and I'm sure we're going to see many more moves like that. It's just a really lovely circuit because of those elevation changes.
Yeah, the off-camera as well. It's one of these tracks that feels fairly straightforward and easy and a fairly normal layout, like the chicane here, like you say, but it's one of these ones that has a tendency to bite as well. You've got to respect it, I think.
Yeah, and obviously when you go to Le Mans, and I'm lucky enough to say I've been a few times now, when you are there, that's when you realise how the Bugatti circuit sits. You know, it's constantly changing. Obviously, you come up through Dunlop to the chicane, then you're dropping down into La Chapelle, then you rise again before you drop back down into the left-hander after that. Then we're back up a slight hill again before we come into Garage Vert. I don't think there's a real point on this circuit where you're not really changing. I think only that run maybe down to the chicane there. That's probably the only time.
It's got a fair bit of rolling gradient on there, hasn't it, really? It's,
into Chemin-au-Boeuf. I think that's probably the only place. This is brilliant into the final chicane, into the final double right-hander as well. 10 hours, 26 minutes. KM99, I think, or TRT 27. Almost about to go back out. Well, pictures of TRT 27. They've been in pit lane for 7.5 minutes now. They are about to head back out. We saw them coming into the pits to perform what seemingly was a routine pit stop. It has gone on a little longer than some of us may have expected, but as you can tell by body language of the mechanics, they don't seem particularly concerned. Thank you for those of you who are joining us on the coverage. It's a pleasure to have your company. Myself, Chris McCarthy, Chris Sora. You can get in touch with us and send in your questions. Let us know who you're cheering on for on Twitter. Myself at Chris McCarthy 32 and at Chris Sora as well. If you haven't been with us in the last hour, we did just have a big crash for the Honda No Limits team. Just keeping an eye to see what happened. It was coming into here that we saw that happen, into Les Muses, where we saw them go off, and the motorcycle barrel rolling through the gravel. The rider was okay, got up and ran over to the bike to see if he could continue. It was Alexis Masbou who was on the bike, but unfortunately it was in no state to get back on and keep going. We'll see, monitor the progress of that. We've had 5 retirements so far. For their sake, let's hope they can get back and get in a position to continue, but at first glance it didn't seem that was a possibility. TRT though, we're seeing pictures, Chris, of them working on their bike and looking to get back out there, seemingly a routine stop. For those of you just tuning in, you can see positions down the left-hand side. Yamaha leading the way so far. Really, it's been a case for them of, yes, they've performed well in qualifying. They went toe-to-toe at the beginning at the start, so they have earned this, but they've also stayed out of trouble as well, when others have quite literally fallen around them. BMW being one of those, hence why the gap is so big between them. It was once just a matter of about 18 seconds. It's now a couple of laps. Sylvain Guintoli was the rider on the bike when that went down. He's back out there. Christian Gamarino on the 11 for Kawasaki. They've had misfortunes and dramas of their own. Then we have the number 12, which is on a charge back through the field, Yoshimura. Then the number 4 next, Tati Team Behringer. Then we come shortly after that to our lead bike in super stocks, which is National Motos Honda. Trying to chase them down is this bike here, the number 41. Third in that super stock class is currently the 111. So there has been some changes there, but that said, Slider Endurance were third, but there are being pit stops performed, so we may be in a pit stop process, and that's why that's happened. But certainly National Motos Honda, no question that they are leading, and no question that the 41 are second. So while we're watching them, Chris, let's talk about Kronberger. 41, second place. They're doing a great job so far. Oh, that Kronberger team, 5th in the World Cup last year, 4th in stock class here last year, and they lost a Bordeaux win last year due to having too large a fuel tank.
Regardless, wasn't it? Too large a fuel tank.
They want redemption.
They want redemption, don't they? And they've currently got, you would say, one of the headline riders for that team out at the moment, the Luxembourger Chris Leach, who was the Boldor Superstock winner in 2022, runner-up in 2021, and the Luxembourg rider out onto the track now and pursuing hard. Let's have a look at the gap. We're looking at about 2 or 3 laps, I believe, as we go back into the pits, and the number 27, the TRT 27, with, I believe, Luxton going to get onto the machine right on cue. So there is going to be a rider change for the number 27 team. They making what appeared to be a routine pit stop for some mechanical work. Seems to have gone a little bit longer than that team may have wanted, but back out onto the track goes Ben Luxton, 8th in the Superstock 1000 Championship in 2022, former Superstock 600 champion. So Ben Luxton taking to the track now, and the number 27 TRT 27 AZ Moto getting back onto the track in 21st position overall, a little bit further down in the Superstock with 10.5 hours completed, as we move back to our leaders. Yamaha, piloted by Karel Hanneke, Czech rider, who certainly has been putting in some good steady laps, lapping in the 1:37 region, similar to the chasing BMW. So I think Karel Hanneke from Brno in the Czech Republic, famous motorcycling city, of course, and one of these people I'm sure would have premix in the veins almost, as he grew up in that country. Former Red Bull Rookies Cup winner, European Moto 3 champion, so it's very much an all-star lineup here on the Yamaha team, and Hanneke has been he's been certainly exalting this form here, Chris, because he's putting in a star endurance rider performance here. Good steady lap times. He's been incredibly consistent in this stint, lapping within around 1.5 seconds when you consider the amount of traffic out there as well. Hanneke really is putting in some good lap times here.
He is. He really is, Karel Hanneke. 1 minute 37.4. Just assessing Yoshimura's times, 1:36.6. So they are still going quicker. It's just how far behind they are. Sylvain Guintoli, what was that? 1:37 flat last time. I'd say Karel Hanneke, you're talking good times. It's just they are controlling this race very well, is the word I'm going to use. They're just ticking off the laps now and just allowing the time to progress. That's all it is now. They've essentially done the hard work, haven't they? They've got through that first phase of the race, which is, you know, where the adrenaline really is pumping for everyone. You know, it's been a long off-season, a lot of testing. You get back on the bike. You know, as I was having a discussion earlier with one of our other commentary team members, you know, you're doing a lot of testing on really hot tracks, and then you jump onto a surface which the track temperature isn't quite so hot anymore, and it's just adjusting to that again, and adjusting
setup as well, I suppose, like you say, with the cool weather.
Just adjusting to the fact that you haven't quite been on a race like this for a little while now. It's been a while since the Boldor, so it's just allowing all that adrenaline out. They've got through that where we've seen victims falling, and once you've survived that and built up a gap, now you can just go and control the race. I know that I've made that sound a lot easier than it is, but Yamaha
coming in then
will be their job. As we say that, as Chris says, they are in pit lane, and Yamaha team will wait for them to come in for another stop.
So let's have a look. This looks to me like nothing other than a routine tyre and fuel stop here, as Hanneke brings the bike into the pits. They're keeping it on pit road. Hanneke steps off the machine, and we'll share some points here. I think it's Marvin Fritz that's taking over, the German. So Fritz about to hop onto the machine, of course, waiting for the refueling to continue, and straight onto the bike he goes. Very quick stop there, as the Number 1 taking over the machine is Marvin Fritz, the EWC champion from 2023. Really a rider steeped in endurance racing history, former 12-hour Estoril winner, former IDM Supersport champion, second in this race last year, and if things keep going as they stand, the German will be on the top step of the podium if they can carry this form going. But we are 10.5 hours into the race as Hanneke takes a moment to compose his thoughts, and he put in a good stint there running. Somebody took a nasty high side of there. That's the 34 JMA action bike, JMA racing machine, the Belgian there dropping the machine, and that would be Milan Merkel back there. Who's that, the Dutchman, I believe, and off the machine he goes. That's on the final corner on the run up to Racordemont onto the main classic high side there, but luckily the rider appears to be okay. Unfortunately, of course, so Chris, that's, if you're gonna have a crash, it's about the worst place when you've gone about 50 meters past the pit entrance.
Oh no, this is the Art Yamaha team back in. Well, that was a unfortunate high side, as you mentioned,
nasty
there,
on that one,
coming through the.
Of course, he's got to do another lap now as well, if the bike's okay.
That's the worst place to
Not
put
very
it
good,
down,
is it?
isn't
Yeah.
it? Just by pit entrance. And JMA have already had some troubles in this race, so some more troubles for them, unfortunately. And they'll now have to make their way back round to the pit lane.
So I've got to give a shout out here, Chris, for the number 5 team, the FCC TSR Honda France, and Joshua Hook up to 23rd position now. And I think when you consider how far back, of course, Hook had a rather nasty tumble in the early stages, I think they're doing very well, actually, to bring this bike into the midfield. And as you said a few times during the broadcast, I think all of us really have said it's not just this race, it's also the championship. So although the number 5, the FCC TSR Honda France machine is, you would say, effectively out of contention for the win or a podium, they could still get some decent championship points from this one.
Yeah, I think that is a very good point. I think it would just be a case of get some points on the board, isn't it? It's, as you mentioned, 23rd place, and last time round they did a 138.3. The 53 ahead of them did a 142. They're lapping 2 to 4 seconds a lap faster than most. I'd say at least the next 10 bikes ahead of them. So they can start picking off bikes very quickly. So for Honda fans, we will monitor the progress of that FCC Honda bike. It's going to make progress very quickly if it keeps going at the pace that it is. Now, just behind them is the ADSS 97 bike, of course, still very early into their Endurance World Championship career, just a couple of years ago now.
That's one of the Eurosport alumni on that.
Yeah, they picked up. They're sending in updates to us, and they unfortunately did just have to have quite a lengthy pit stop where they've lost 7 laps, 10 minutes, 42 minutes pit, 10 minutes and 42 second pit stop, where they were having some issues. A new exhaust link pipe fitted to that. They've had to have some adjustments to the chain as well, new front and rear calipers pads, so they've had to sound like a big service onto that bike, unfortunately, with some issues going on out on track. They were up in P17. They've now dropped down to 25th. As I say that, Joe Ackroyd has just put them up to 24th. So, as they say to us in their message, a long road ahead, but they are going to push all the way to the end. There's no doubt about that. So thanks for their updates. If you've got updates on any more teams you'd like to share with us, do get in touch at Chris McCarthy 32 and at Chris Sora as well. Techmas are in. We saw then have an incident whilst leading or fighting for the lead in the Superstock class. Here's Team Etoile, the all-Japanese rider lineup, their pit crew wait. Have we seen JMA back into the pits yet? I don't think so. but they're certainly going to be making their way back round. It's been a tough race for them so far. Team Etoile trying to chase down the top 10. You can see the gap to them, 36 back from AVO Bike.
Team Etoile, so they're 4th so far in the Supersport. They're having a good, strong race so far, Etoile, and certainly in with the factor for the podium as well. So we focus on the Japanese riders. Of course, Team Etoile charging round the lap as we head towards 11 hours. Further down the field, looking outside of the top 30, of course, the KM99 team, the Belgian Yamaha squad, who had a lengthy pit stop around about 45 minutes towards an hour ago. Randy Lapunier, of course, the veteran former Moto GP rider, is on the machine right now and is slowly but surely starting to move his way through the field. They are setting some strong lap times now, lapping in the 137, 138s, and Lapunier, former runner-up in this event. I don't think he's going to be a runner-up this year, but he's certainly given it all further down the field. That looked to me there, Chris, that Team Etoile, I think, could be making a pit stop there.
They were, yeah, they were preparing for one. Team Etoile coming in. Oh, there we go. There's a nice move on some traffic being done into the final chicane. It's making moves through the traffic as well, isn't it? You've got to pick your moments to do it. The last thing you want to do, especially at this stage of the race, is make those moves at the wrong time. And we've seen it many a time where you just pick the wrong moment to go through. Can be very easily done. Traffic, a very big part of endurance racing, particularly in the Endurance World Championship, particularly here in the 24-hour Le Mans race. As we just see them heading now down to the left-hander, where we had the Honda No Limits bike go down. Their Muse 25 on our screen now. Team Etoile, that pit crew is waiting for that bike to come back in. They're currently in that super stock fight. We've got Slider Endurance up there as well. The number 36, also 3-Art Best of Bike, currently fighting up there, as is the number 30, Team GT Endurance. They've just come back out of the pit lane as well. And the 18 falls next after that as well, Team 18. Some great teams up there. Team GT Endurance, we haven't talked much of them.
So Etoile into the pits.
Yeah, we see that pit stop about to be performed, Chris.
So Team Etoile, 12th overall right now and handily placed in the Superstock class. Here we see we've got the front and rear tyre change now scheduled. So this is going to be a rather intensive pit stop, and this is going to be a great opportunity to see how labour intensive the pit stop will be. So here we go. Front wheel and rear wheel being swapped out, and without the quick releases that you see on the EWC. So Team Etoile in the pits right now. (10:45) coming up here as we continue to watch Team Etoile. They've had a fairly routine tyre and pit stop. Of course, the Superstock's front and rear wheels being changed, new tyres on that BMW, and taking to the track. They were sitting in 12th position, so I believe they might lose a couple of positions on track there, but as you saw there, Chris, of course, fairly labour intensive with the makeup of these machines, but a good pit stop there.
It looked it, didn't it? It certainly looked a decent pit stop. You can just see the weaving coming out the pits just to get things up to temperature.
I think that's Yudai Kamai on that all-Japanese rider lineup, taking his position out onto the course. And of course, I think here, Chris, this very long pit lane.
Yeah.
it allows you your final time to gather your thoughts before you step out into the fray.
I can't imagine what that's like when you're just seeing them charge past you through Dunlop chicane and round Dunlop curve.
Totally different world. I can liken that to when I was racing on the Alain Prost, the karting track. That's got an incredibly long pit lane that goes right the way around the first chicane. You just sat there very barely above walking pace, and you know, the track's within reach. We just got to sit there and plod along while everyone goes charging. It's a strange feeling.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that's like for them. It's just within a few feet they're charging round Dunlop curve.
Very peculiar, isn't it?
And they just they cannot, I mean, all they want to do is just release that limiter and go. Yeah, particularly when you're in a situation like FCC Honda, for example, who are trying to get back through the field, or KM99. They're currently 32nd, KM99. Of course, they had a real lengthy pit stop after an incident earlier. We saw their whole pit stop really being performed. We'll keep an eye on them. Randy Depunier is out on the bike for them now, and they've just gone up to 31st as I say that, so they've just picked off the 116 bike, which is the King Tire full gas racing team. So with that, KM99 get a step closer to the top 30, and they'll look to just try and get as far forward as they can. Let's head down to the pit lane then, and hear for some more people down in the pits.
The first time I rode it was in 1996 in Cagiva Mito for the training. And I remember I broke the engine in the Musée corner, and it was my first crash in a road racing bike there.
My first time in Le Mans is a long time ago when I was a MotoGP rider. This was my first experience in Le Mans. I didn't know it before, and I came straight with a MotoGP bike, so it hasn't been the most easy of the approach, but I always loved this track, and it's really beautiful, and I enjoy more and more. Now I can say after many 24 hours I did here, I can almost do a lap blindfolded.
My first time in Le Mans was in 2013 in the Moto3 World Championship. And it was my best qualifying of the year. It was the race I didn't finish, but I enjoy. It was nice. It's different in the World Championship, definitely compared to the endurance, but the atmosphere here is every time good, so I really enjoyed it.
It was in 2004 with a 125cc bike, first time in a 125cc bike with my parents and my dad's team, and I qualified third in French Championship. So yeah, it was a good moment. So it was my first time in a 125, and it was at this track.
Well, the pit lane looks slightly different there, Chris, I think, but good to get some of the interviews that we had a little bit earlier in the week. Good to hear from some of our riders and the thoughts they have before coming in to this event. As we go on board with Yoshimura, we've been getting these pictures throughout the race. Always great to have the onboards, and seeing the onboards from Yoshimura really has been great.
Thing with a 24-hour race as well, it's just when it gets to this sort of stage, I think, and you're and everyone's lapping everyone, it's just a constant, really. It comes ebbs and flows for a front-running rider like that. They'll have a couple of maybe fairly quiet laps, and then we just saw, like we're looking at the leader now, actually, Yamaha. You're going to get these laps every so often where you've got a new challenge. You've got a group of riders in front of you. Just got to take your time and just pick your way through when the moment's right. The other thing, of course, to bear in mind as well, especially for all of the riders, you say, not just the front runners, is the temperatures are really starting to drop right now. We're looking locally. It's gone down to about 3-4 degrees. I think it's going to bottom out at about 3 degrees. Track temperature was about 10-11 degrees earlier. Levels of grip being quite good, but as the temperature levels drop, the humidity could be a factor. And you'll see here as well, when you look at some of the EWC machines going offline there to lap the Super Sports. 11 hours into the race, this track is fairly well bedded in now, and when you go offline, there's some pretty nasty marbles on there, so got to be careful when you go offline to lap these machines, because the off the racing line, it's a bit loose.
Yeah, you could. That was a good move, by the way, through there. You could just see the I think that was the Yamaha just diving down the inside and just
like
making that move coming through. Just coming up to 11 hours complete as we come up to Dunlop.
So looking at the even little things like the tyre pressures, I think the question was posed a minute ago. It's you might just want to look at maybe adjusting those ever so slightly as well.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, we are having more questions coming in. Nick Green getting in touch on Twitter. You can get in touch with myself at Chris McCarthy 32, Chris Sora as well. Do the teams increase tyre pressures for the night when the ambient temperature drops? So great time to answer that, Chris. Ask that question.
You can have a little bit of a leeway, of course.
Just talking there, Chris, about how the temperature is dropping. And I guess that's we are seeing, Nick, if you haven't watched this before, the bikes being taken back into the garages for surface. That's certainly going to be a consideration, I imagine, Chris, isn't it?
The setup every so often. Of course, it is cool out there, which may make things a little bit slick and a little bit slippery as we head towards the morning. The track will be potentially rather treacherous, but this will be fairly good for the motors, I think. Here, it's on the other flip side of the coin. We could have just as easily been having a very warm April, and that would have its own difficulties, of course, with the warm temperatures. But we're just above freezing, 2-3 degrees the ambient temperature outside right now. Track temperature in the low teens possibly, but that'll be nice for the bikes, I think. The engines will like that quite a lot, and I think nail the setup on these machines. They'll be running nicely through the night.
Yeah.
But of course, it is all about the setup, and like we saw with the Cert Moto, the Yoshimura machine, earlier on, they made some setup changes, and it caught them out, caught the rider out with the traction control issue. So it's just that constant changing throughout the race, and just making sure that the riders are on top of that as well. We're just looking here at the number 37. Salan Gintoli on the machine, currently in second place and lapping pretty good at the moment. He's in the 1:36 at this stage, so running fairly close to the fastest lap pace earlier on this evening, 1:35.904. And that BMW starting to pick the pace up once again, 3 laps down on the race leader. Gintoli having a nice stint out here as we approach the 11-hour marker. And so you would say 3 laps down at this stage. We're looking about maybe 4.5 minutes between first and second place. So at the moment you would say that Yamaha with that handy cushion at the front, but BMW charging here, Chris, and I think very much could still be a factor here.
That's a great point, BMW. Do we
potentially, I think as well, Chris, with the extra range on that bike as well, they should be able to keep it out on track a little bit longer than the Yamaha. We'll just have to see how that pans out, of course. They were closing up earlier on, so as we go into the morning, whether that will play a factor if they can just claw that gap back on the Yamaha.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's, are we going to, you know, it's the pit stops, isn't it? Are we seeing them going to go longer on these stops? And with that can become a real factor, particularly later in the race, if that is to happen. If they can outperform in that area, that could be a real case. We last saw the Yamaha in on. Here we go. So this shows us stints for the BMW. So Yamaha last came in on lap 379, and we last saw the 37. Let's have a look at the BMW. When did they last come in? We'll just pull that up in a sec. Now, BMW currently 3 laps back. Take a look at their pit stop phases as well, 3:55. So there's a clear difference there between those guys, isn't there, on the amount. So they're certainly it's certainly a difference between the two, which we will have to monitor now as we move into the second
right on
half
cue
of the
here,
race.
Chris. For those viewing, of course, the lap graphics, you can see that Motos putting in some very consistent lap times here, and just starting to take the fight back to Yamaha at this stage. Got quite a bit of catching up to do. Another thing as well, it is still fairly even in the tyres. We've got 3 different manufacturers in the top 3, and of course 3 different tyres, with Bridgestone leading the way. We've still got the lead Dunlop, the bike we're looking at now, the BMW in 2nd place. 3rd is still the number 11, the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar team, which is the lead Pirelli runner. So all 3 brands of tyres represented in the EWC class all seem to be performing quite well in these cool conditions, as we see number 37, these constant game of having to pick his way through the field, starting to go through 1 or 2 of the super stock riders, approaching the 11-hour marker, and the number 37, piloted by Sylvain Guintoli, still expecting a little bit longer, but right on cue. I was going to say we're looking towards the pit stops very soon for BMW. And this, I think, is going to be a pretty full-on stop, front and rear going on that bike, of course. And this, I think, will be, I'm expecting, I think, number 37, that will be Reiterberger. I think they'll be going onto the machine, won't it? Marcus Reiterberger.
We shouldn't expect Yamaha in with them as well, given the difference there as to when they last stopped. It wasn't. We should expect Yamaha to stay out for a little bit now. Before they next come in.
Bit of a discrepancy now, I suppose, isn't there, between the 1st and 2nd place.
It's 24 laps.
So here we are, the BMW making its way back through the central part of this Bugatti circuit, and through La Musée and towards Garage Fer any moment now. There's the treble 7, who've had a difficult few hours, of course. Gino Rea, of course, making his comeback, and straight off into the escape road. Who is that on the machine? That's the yellow armband, right? I think that's Daniel Webb, another one of the British contingent there.
They're just finding their way back to the pit lane.
It's been a difficult race for the Wojcik Racing team. Of course, this team were a factor in the super stock a little bit earlier on, but they have dropped way down the wreck. And of course, it is great to see Gino Rea back, of course, earlier on this evening.
That was bizarre.
Yeah, very strange there. We're expecting the BMW into the pit as the hardy spectators make this, continuing to watch the race from the grandstand in these early hours. Tends to be only the hardiest staying trackside in these dark hours during the night, as BMW into the pits. And there we are, the red rider, red armbands there, which signifies it's going to be Marcus Reiterberger, the German, taking his position on the bike. And there's nothing to suggest this is anything other than a routine tyre, and taking on the fuel as well. So Reiterberger composing himself in the pit area, and any moment now, of course, they've got to put the fuel into the bike before he can take his position on the machine. So he was going to be prepared and waiting. As here we see Torley back into the paddock. And this, of course, is where the action will take place off the circuit. Even little things like they'll need to get the leathers dried out, the boots dried out, and I'm sure that Shark will have the helmet support in the paddock as well. They'll be hard at work with the helmet preparation. So there he is, Sylvain Guintoli.
Yes.
Lives in Donington nowadays. So the Le Mans circuit, very easy for Guintoli, you would say, as he makes preparations in the pits, with BMW sitting in 2nd place. So Sylvain Guintoli in the pits, as right on cue, actually, the 3rd place team also in the pits. WeBike Trickstar out there as well. We'll see who that was. We did see Marcus Reiterberger, another very experienced endurance rider, about to take the BMW out onto the track, and so they will pretty much hold the 2nd and 3rd place. And out onto the circuit now is the number 11, the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar. Also in the pits, the number 5 FCC TSR 100, of course, continue their fight through the field. And right on cue, Chris, we're into the 11-hour marker and still finely poised here.
We are 11 hours in, indeed. Josh Hook making his way out onto the circuit there, as you mentioned, just to go back out for his next stint. Josh Hook, who was in the wars a little bit earlier in the race. But Josh Hook now back out there as we are 11 hours into the race. 11 hours into the race now, as we see the number 1 Yamaha making its way down to garage there. It's been smooth sailing for them so far. They currently lead. We're in a pit stop process in terms of our lead group. We've seen some rider changes going on. 37 and 11 have both just performed pit stops. Mike D'Amelio has just jumped on the number 5 bike as well, has just had that handed over to him by Josh Hook. So the number 5 is also back out. They're currently down in 23rd. We have the likes of the number 12 up there in the top 5, the number 4 as well. There you can see the tyres there running on to the left-hand side of screen. The crew chief of BMW, smiles all round there so far. They'll be very happy with what they're seeing on that bike. They've had many a podium in these races, but they've always just fallen short when it comes to this race in particular, on getting on the top step. They've never quite won this famous 24-hour race here at Le Mans since it's been running since 1978. I'll be hoping this could be their year to get a BMW on the top step, but standing in their way, the reigning world champions in the yacht Yamaha, and they are some distance down the road as well. However, there is a long way to go in this race in terms of length, duration, and of course that leaves a lot of time for things to go wrong in the race and for incidents to happen.
So 11 hours into the 24 hours here at Le Mans. Just seen on the lap charts, there is a retirement, Chris, for the Honda No Limits team.
Well,
I think we saw the huge accident. Rider thankfully okay on the approach to Dunlop curve. And like we said earlier, that where we will see a replay of that later on, the rider very hurriedly trying to get the marshals to get the bike picked up until he realised there wasn't much of a bike left.
Yeah.
We were speculating whether that would... there's a race control for the 777, the Wojciech team, rejoined by the safety road. But yeah, we're looking at the No Limits team, who were running well, of course, earlier on, but not much left of that bike after that cartwheel through the gravel, and they've opted to withdraw, which is no real surprise, I think, because that bike was pretty battered.
That's no surprise to hear.
Well, there's Josh Hook there.
Yeah, that's the FCC team. Yeah, that's no surprise at all, really. Now, for those of you who didn't see, they had the Honda No Limits team coming out of La Chapelle down to the left-hander. They had a real big high side. The bike then tumbling, barrel rolling through the gravel. It was a fairly high-speed fall that they had. Rider was absolutely okay. It was on the bike for them at that time was Alexis Masbou, who got up and ran over, but the marshals were quickly signalling to Alexis that his bike was going absolutely nowhere, and unfortunately the damage, when Alexis got over to it and he had a look at that bike as well, he was able to assess that he was not going to be going any further in this race, and I think we could tell by his body language and his reaction that he knew not only was it going to be a long journey back to the pits, but it was probably race over, and that has now been confirmed. Chris Zora there just telling us that one.
Another one, I think, in dropping down the reckoning, the Wojciech Racing team, treble 7 in the Superstock class, where we saw, I think it was Daniel Webb on the machine, gone to the technical area. And they were running strongly in the early stage, of course. Gino Rea back on the machine. He was riding on a parade lap this time last year, and whether we'd seen back on a bike in a racing capacity at all was up in the balance for quite a long time after that horrible accident at Suzuka. But had a couple of tumbles early in the stages, but recovering well. But that team pretty much out of contention at the moment.
Well, the teams have been hard at work, but also getting themselves through with plenty of refreshments and, well, keeping themselves warm, I guess we'll call that one. Entertained throughout. Yep, we saw. I'm loving that. That's great style down there. The Team Etoile we saw there. There's a way to keep warm, Chris.
Wouldn't be Le Mans without a sleeping person in the pits.
We can get one of those in the comms box. He'll see that one back tomorrow. Thank you to all the marshals here who are keeping us safe at the circuit for the riders. Oh, there we go. Other snacks are available, I think we'll say on that one. He must... some of those must get caught in that tash, is all I'll say. Here's our overall classification. Yamaha leading as they are just about to complete 400 laps. BMW second place, Kawasaki third. 3 manufacturers in the top 3. Yoshimura on a charge back through the field, 4th place. Then we have Tati Team Behringer, our lead Superstock. Our team is National Motos Honda. Team Bollinger come next. Just rounding out the top 10 moto box, we've got third Superstock is a Team Slider Endurance. They are running well in 11th. Team Etoile 13th. We saw pictures of them. Wojciech Racing Team 77 15th, despite the fact we've seen them go down 4 or 5 times now in this race, so that's a really good effort from them. TRT 27, 20th for them so far in this race. The junior team Le Mans going well in 18th. Tekmasu did go down earlier, recovering smartly into the top 20. And talking of recoveries, FCC Honda 25th. Also on the recovery topic, KM99 trying to come back through as well. The Matisse 35th for them so far. Wojciech Racing Team 777 is the one I meant to mention. That's the one Gino Rea is on. And sadly, we've seen them have a few. And then we come to our retirements from the race so far. Confirmed now is Honda No Limits. They're joined by the 86, which has retired as well. That's Pit Lane Endurance. 212 has retired as well, which is Verk Motors Events. 82 Uniserve has retired. Team Racing 85 has retired. Team 33 Luit has retired as well, and Honda Viltaz Racing has sadly retired as well. We are approaching half race distance, and I'd say one of our main battles on track is now going to be for third place. It's getting closer, isn't it, between that Kawasaki and that Suzuki in third and fourth. And we ride on board with that Suzuki now.
There's Etienne Masson on the machine right now. Frenchman making his way through the field, and that Suzuki really has fought through the field very well after that nasty tumble earlier in the race, the high side that really dropped them way down the reckoning. And Etienne Masson, runner-up last year in the EWC Ballon d'Or winner, Bourg-en-Bresse, and there he goes to complete another lap. 11 hours 10, and they are starting ever so slightly to pick away on the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar machine. In third place, I believe they're sitting on the same lap right now. 394 laps completed. They are approaching the 400 lap marker with the leaders, Marvin Fritz on the Yamaha right now. Here we go, 50 seconds separating third and fourth after 11 hours of racing. So the Suzuki fighting through quite well. The third position, Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar starting to be closed. It's Ramon Ramas Alvaro in third position on that Kawasaki, but here we are back with Masson in fourth as he brings the gap down into 50 seconds between third and fourth. I believe that Dan Linfoot will be getting ready. Track temperature 6.5 degrees right now, so it really is starting to cool down. The reporting that the grip is still good out there from the teams, but just need to watch out for the humidity. The temperatures really are dropping. This is going to be 3 or 4 degrees. We haven't seen, we had a few tumbles, as you'd imagine, the night stint. We haven't seen the track temperatures cause that much of a problem to the riders. Here we go, right on cue then. So we're expecting Dan Linfoot to be jumping on the machine any moment now. The Yorkshireman is in the pit area we're expecting, and right on cue we should see him any moment now as Suzuki prepare for the pit stop. Front wheel at the ready as well. We'll see that, of course, the EWC is a lot more straightforward to swap those wheels over. Quick as that, and get the fuel into position. So of course got the quick release kind of thing there as well. You can just get the spindle out a lot quicker. There is Linfoot, I think, on the machine there, should be. So Dan Linfoot back onto the bike, and here he goes. We're expecting him to be taking it out onto the course as Masson back into the pits, and he can relax for a short while. So Dan Linfoot, like we say, going out onto a very cold track right now, Chris, but the grip level's still good, we're being told.
That's good info to be getting from our guys at the track. Dan Linfoot, as you said, back out. Amazing to see how quick they can just get those tyres on and off and the fuel back in. Dan Linfoot then out on the circuit for Yoshimura as they try and chase down the Kawasaki in third. Approaching half race distance here at Le Mans. We are almost 12 hours in to the 24 hours of Le Mans here. We can see the crew chief at Yoshimura just going through some things with the rider at Yoshimura, who we've seen just come in off that. Etienne Masson was on the bike for them. He's just come in to the pits.
Looks like Masson discussing with the Japanese engineer there, I think, about some of the bikes reacting as well. You'd say the factory input, of course, still very strong, and with endurance racing, of course, it's, as always, a great selling point for any manufacturer, so it's only natural that the testing ground almost here in endurance racing as strong as ever. Masson just sharing notes with the engineering teams along with the crew chief. That Suzuki is running well. A very clean pit stop there with Dan Linfoot straight back onto the bike, and we go straight back out onto the track with him as he makes his way up towards the S du Garage Bleu, and before him on back towards the finish line very shortly. The famous Ferris wheel here at Le Mans in the background, and you'll see the grandstands, of course, Chris, this time of an evening looking fairly bare. They'll be out with it. Was it the Kaltenberg, was it called? The Le Mans beer. They'll be all off into the party element of the night, I think, for many of the spectators. The race goes on, of course, that'll be the furthest thing from the riders' minds right now. But yeah, this is where Le Mans comes alive off track, you might say, as we approach local time. It'll be about 2:15 in the morning. So yeah, only the hardiest of spectators tend to stay out trackside at this time of a night.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, Dan Linfoot then for 2:49 there, Chris, on the outlap. So it was a good pit stop and a good outlap from Dan Linfoot there. And certainly keeping that team well into contention here. So certainly a podium not out of the question. They're only about, looking at the charts here, 6 laps down on the leader. So Suzuki are running incredibly well here, and we're just approaching half distance. I think, Chris, here they could still be in with an outside chance of victory if they can keep on with this form.
That's it's interesting when you put it like that, isn't it?
I think that potentially they're relying on Yamaha potentially hitting some problems, maybe.
I was just about to say the same thing.
But they're putting themselves in that position where they can benefit, I think, from the misfortune of others.
I think they're saying to the leaders, we're here if anything goes wrong. But they're certainly chasing down the Kawasaki that are ahead, aren't they? They are really chasing them down now. And either way, if they were to finish exactly where they were, it would be a superb recovery process. They've done a fantastic job so far of Yoshimura. 11 hours and 16 minutes complete. We ride on board with Yoshimura, 4th place. They have just performed a pit stop and now head back out. It was a good pit stop, Chris Zora. We mentioned there that overall we saw the pit stop and getting tyres off looked very quick, but the outlap you mentioned as well.
Yeah, really quick.
Dan Linfoot now on the bike for them as we ride on board with them. And overall very good. I mean, you mentioned about the fact that they're not out of this in terms of the race win, but they're certainly chasing down a podium hard now. They're not far. They're about a lap back from 11th place. 11th from the number 11 in 3rd place. What I meant to say there. How I got that far away from that statement, I don't know, but they're
I think
about a lap back from 3rd.
Haven't they, on the pit stops, haven't they? So, yes, certainly you would say 3rd place, potentially within striking distance here. Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar with Ramos Alvaro on the machine, the Spaniard at the moment in 3rd position, but Suzuki are coming back strong, and Linfoot is really going at this. We're going to watch the lap times when he crosses the line right now. He lapped last time with a 1:38.3, so
let's see,
pretty much on the pace of the leaders. Fritz and Reiterberger, the 2 Germans, 1st and 2nd, lapping 1:37 right now. Fritz on the Yamaha, Reiterberger on the BMW. Linfoot over the line. Yeah, he's lapping 1:38 still, so
okay,
pretty much give or take a second on the pace of the leaders, so right on there. Looks like 1st and 2nd just starting to pick up the pace slightly here, I think.
A little bit. Let's give Dan Linfoot another lap or two to bed himself in, I think. And 3rd place there, 1:38.5s for them on the last lap. If they can get down to the mid to low 1:37s, there's a chance for the door to start opening and start chipping away at that gap. You know, they don't have to do it in the next hour or two. We've got over half this race still remaining. Look how much has happened in the first half. A lot can happen in the next half. Here we go, JMA Racing Action Bike. If you have only just joined us back after being away for some time, or have only just joined us, they had an incident, I'd say about 20 to 30 minutes ago,
20, 30 minutes
coming
ago.
out of the final corner, just going past pit entrance, essentially.
Although, according to the timer, they've only just come into the pit, so whether this is look at the fuel tank, that's,
well,
you can see what's happened there.
They had an incident. Clearly they got back okay, but we can see what has been left on the bruises that have been left on the bike from that.
Yeah, that machine took a this right on cue, actually, the final corner here. This is where the high side occurred, and that bike really did take a hefty slam into the tarmac, which is judged by the damage to the fuel tank there.
Yeah, so they're deciding to just keep pressing on.
Whether they return back to the pits, but they've only just gone back in there, so whether they've just managed to nurse the bike round for the last 20 minutes or so and get it back in, I wonder.
Possibly.
Randy de Punier on the charge, looking further down the field, the KM99 machine. And de Punier, he's made up about 6 positions in the last 10-15 minutes or so as he starts to go through some of the super stock machinery. Going back to the Tati Team Behringer machine, bike number 4, currently running strongly in 5th position. They've had a fairly smooth, steady race there, just on the edge of the podium as we look at the number 4 machine, piloted by Hugo Claire right now. Just on the fringes of the podium here.
Now, Dan Linfoot, 1:36.6 last time. And rider ahead, Roman Alvaro, 1:38.3.
Yeah, he's falling right now.
Almost
down
2
Linford.
seconds. Almost 2 seconds quicker. If he, I was almost going to mention it before. I mentioned low to mid on 37s.
Yeah.
He's in the 1:36s again.
And what's that, Chris? About half a second, I think, or thereabouts off the fastest lap for that team as well. So
He's just gone 3 seconds quicker than the bike ahead.
1:37 this time round. So good, consistent, quick times here for Linford.
So that time 2 seconds faster. That's a lot of time to be taking out a lap.
Yeah, I think this is the subplot starting to emerge here as we approach half distance. We're seeing, of course, Yamaha looking good at the front. Marvin Fritz currently on the machine at the moment. And they've got a reasonable lead, just over 4 laps now from BMW in second. So the race just starting to settle down into a bit of an order as we approach half distance. It's been fairly steady for the last few hours, being first and second. Always in the mix there, Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar, but coming under pressure from the subplot in this race is the number 12, the Yoshimura Cert Moto machine, the Suzuki, really playing comeback after a nasty tumble in the early evening. And they put Dan Linford on the bike now, who's really got back to a strong, I'd say, really fast as they can, really. They've been charging through the field, and about 6 laps down on the leader right now. And they're in that, like we were saying a few minutes ago there, Chris, I think Suzuki are in that bit of a position now where they might be relying on other people at this stage. Now they've gone towards the front, but if any of those top 3 start to hit trouble in the second half of the race, throughout the rest of the night even, I think Suzuki cannot be written out of this race.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And I don't think you'd have said that a few hours ago, would you?
Certainly not when that happened.
Yeah, they seemed to be well and truly out of contention, I think. So quite the comeback. A little bit less clear cut for them, but still making good progress, of course, being for the Honda fans, FCC, TSR Honda. They have dropped a few positions after a pit stop, and the bike taking a detour into the garage a few laps ago. So they're down in 25th, but they've had a good comeback as well, I think, Chris.
Yeah, they have. It's been I think it's been a race of comebacks in a way, hasn't it? It's been quite the story of the race, and often is sometimes. That's Le Mans for you, isn't it? It's and that's where the whole story of Le Mans choosing you comes from, because it's
just that way, isn't it? I think
it is. It's we see plenty of riders falling throughout the race, and it's just so easy for it to happen. And I'm having this conversation with Bradley Smith, of course, a man who knows all about racing at the highest level, and he was saying to me how easy it is how easy it is for you to have that moment where the bike just goes from you.
This is one of the things where I think there's never such thing as a lucky victory. It's that you make your own luck in an endurance race.
But even in a sprint race, we've seen it all around. You just push that little bit too hard on the brake, moment gone. We saw American fans heartbroken just a week ago when they thought Marc Marquez was going to be chasing down another win there, but one just going a little bit too deep down into the hairpin, and that was it. He was down, and it happened so quickly as well, didn't it? And it's as easy as that, and we are seeing similar things happen in this race, where you're coming into that. I'd say one of the points there is the final corner here, isn't it? It happens at a slower speed, but coming into there, bike can just go on you
very easily. We've seen it claim quite a few riders already, of course, in the first half of the race. So coming up towards the half distance, I think it was one of the Kawasaki riders. So this would be Ramos will be coming into the pitch very soon, won't he? So
what I'd say, Chris, is, and you'll probably agree with me on this, for Grand Prix fans, for Superbike fans, we watch those races, we really enjoy them, we see how hard the riders push in that and how easy they make mistakes in that. Imagine having to do, essentially, I couldn't work out how many Grand Prix they're doing, but imagine having to do that over and
Several.
over and over
Yeah.
and over and over and over. Absolutely fantastic. Pit stops being performed. BMRT next to come in as we approach half race distance here at Le Mans. Just coming up now to 11 hours and 30 minutes, Chris, and pit stops underway.
So BMRT, of course, running well on the fringes of the top 10. So they'll be 7th in the EWC class. Parked with just under an hour stint as the Cresson onto the machine now. Loris Cresson makes his way out onto the track, just a little bit of a jink side to side to get some temperature back into the tyres. He'll be making his way out onto the track very shortly. And off the track now goes, I think that was Jonathan Hart, who is back into the garage. There you see, of course, you've got the very fundamental shelving systems there, of course, keeping all the helmets, the gloves in positions there. I'm almost relieved as to how rustic that shelving unit is there. It's the sort of thing we have in the endurance karting sometimes.
Yeah.
It's simple but effective, serves a purpose.
Well, you know,
keeps everything dry, keeps it off the ground even, and you know, everyone, of course, you got 4 different riders or 4 different drivers depending on the sport. They've all got to put their kits somewhere, so
that's it.
even little things like the organisation there is simple but effective, you would say.
That's it. Doesn't always need to look pretty, so to speak. It just needs to do its job.
Definitely. It's certainly function over form there. Just going back onto the track, and Suzuki still on the charge. It looks like Ramos is just dropping a little bit of pace. I'm wondering if they're going to bring the Kawasaki into the pits very soon in 3rd place. Just trying to have a look at the times maybe and see when they're going to bring that Kawasaki back in. As we look at the number 41, that's the Chrome-Burner team, and they are currently sitting in the midfield right now. Number 4 to 8th and 2nd, of course. My apologies, of course. Chrome-Burner currently 2nd in the Super Sports with Wayne Tessels on the machine right now. The Dutchman making his way up towards the centre of the circuit, number 41. There he is, right on cue, 2nd in the Super Sports with the red-hot glow from the brakes, demonstrating how cold it is out there. The ambient temperature just above 3 degrees right now. Very cool night in Le Mans. And here we go into the pits. Midnight pit stop here, early morning, of course. We're approaching 2:30 in the morning as the last few of those spectators, I think they're going to grab some kip.
Yeah. Not for the pit crew, certainly not for all of them anyway. Now, I'm sure do their best to, what we saw on that pictures, that you get your kip where you can, as we coming up to 11.5 hours in. 11 hours, 30 minutes, just coming up to that completion in the 24-hour here. First round of the Endurance World Championship. National Motos Honda are on screen, first in the Superstock class, and we are awaiting them to come into the pits. Just running a little bit wide was the bike ahead of them into the corner there. We just saw almost, it did scare me slightly, but our Superstock leaders, if you're just joining us, are about to come in to perform a pit stop. We have just seen our Endurance World Championship class a short time ago. Leaders in that performing their pit stops, lead group all coming in. And now our Superstock leaders are about to come in as well. Live coverage here the next 30 minutes anyway. Myself, Chris McCarthy and Chris Saw are going to be with you for the next 30 minutes, and then we'll hand over to Dave Goddard and Ben Rumbold, who will be with you for the next 3 hours after. It looks like National Motos Honda. Is this them coming in? I believe it is. So National Motos Honda. Let's get ready for a pit stop then, Chris. Superstock leaders on their way down pit road.
So here we go, and of course you'll see the difference between EWC and the Superstocks now in terms of the wheels. It's a lot more fundamental these days. Here we go. It's going to be front and rear. This is the time, of course, to change the front tyres as well. The leaders in the pits, number 55, of course. And that, I think, will be Leon Raymond heading off the machine, being replaced by Valentin Suchet. Swiss rider about to get back on the machine in just a few moments. They're going to get the tyres replaced firstly. As you can see, more production-based hardware, so it's a bit of a slower process to get that front wheel onto the machine. Take on some fuel, of course, the quick refuel. The milk churn there, get the fuel into the machine. Suchet, just under 4 hours of riding so far, and out onto the circuit he goes once again. A very smooth pit stop there for National Motos Honda, who lead the super stock class from the number 8 team Bollinger, Switzerland, up to second. They've had a good steady race so far, sitting firmly. I'm looking at the wrong below there. Kronberner, my apologies, Chris. Kronberner in second, 8th overall with Wayne Tessels on the machine. Of course, Bollinger sitting in 6th in the EWC class. So got number 41 second in the Superstock. Kronberner with Wayne Tessels, and they are just under, I think, about a lap down right now. Up to third in 111, of course, Team Avio bike moving up to third on the Aprilia. Third in class, 11th in the race so far with the Super Stocks. But 55, the very experienced team, of course, National Motos Honda. Certainly know about winning here at Le Mans. And looking strong in 6th position. They've just made their way out onto the circuit now with Valentin Suchet, the rider who started, of course, with the classic Le Mans start 11.5 hours ago. Back on the bike now, really putting the miles in so far. So we've got Triple One currently in 11th position, 12th for the number 25 Team Etoile, and they are just ahead of the 119 Team Slider Endurance, who've got the Turkish rider, I think, Rodi Pak Azrin, on the machine right now. He's up to 13th position, and number 36 in there for the Super Stocks as well. We are best of bike with Maiku Watanuki currently in 14th position. Thomas Ward out a little bit further down the field in 20th place for the number 27 TRT 27 AZ Moto machine, the all-British team with, of course, the representing Northern Ireland as well, Michael Dunlop, the TT legend, out on that team as well. He will be out, I would say, in about 30 to 40 minutes time. Dunlop should be out onto the track as well as we cut back to the pits. And here we are, Chris, the leaders are into the pits.
Yep, Yamaha come in for their pit stop now. Here we see them roll through, and we're going to see those tyres being changed. Fuel will go in, but Yamaha have come in to perform their pit stop. Flawless race for them so far. We're just going to be hoping for more smooth pit stops and to be getting it back in for nothing more than just those tyre changes and any small service stops. We can see the rider change being done, and they'll now head back out on to the circuit. So Yamaha smooth sailing so far. And I say so far because there is a long way to go, but it's been I've got to say, huge credit to all the team down there so far, because they've done a fantastic job. The riders out on the circuit and also the team in the garage. They did have, one or two moments, shall we say, in the very early stages, but otherwise it's been a real smooth race for them. When you don't see them too often, it's been a smooth race. A bit cold out there. Nicolo Caliper is now out on the bike. Thanks to those of you getting in touch with us, by the way, on Twitter. Myself at Chris McCarthy 32 and at Chris Saw as well. We did have a question from Bryn Fitton. Thanks for sending in all your questions and letting us know who you're cheering on, letting us know how you're enjoying the race. If it's your first time, are you a fan? Do let us know where you're watching from. Bryn wants to know what is the material the numbers are made from. what they are made from. I believe they need an electrical charge to glow. I don't actually quite know myself what they are made from, but I tell you what, Bryn, our next two commentators might be able to facilitate the answer to that one for you. Dave Goddard and Ben Rumbold. So stick with us on that one. Danielle Depay has also got in touch as well. She's trying to stay awake for the whole 24 hours. Has the kettle on for this and is cheering on Michael Dunlop and her namesake, Eddie Depay. Well, you conveniently have just informed us that Michael might be back out and about.
Shouldn't be too far away to see Dunlop back on the track.
So
I think there's got to be a market here, Chris, for one of these, I don't know, Lavazza or Nescafe or other coffee brands are available.
I was going to say,
somebody's got to have a sponsorship deal somewhere for 24-hour races somewhere, I think, some of the marketing departments maybe.
Yeah, well, I was going to think, by the time you've got through those chocolate biscuits, Danielle, Michael Dunlop should be back out there. And Eddie Depay, the number 30 Honda, let's give an update on them. Then the number 30 Honda also cheering on for them as well. Let's find them. Team GT Endurance, who are currently down in 35th place. Well, they were doing very well, weren't they, at one stage? They just seem to have they're currently in the pit lane at the moment, doing a pit stop at Team GT Endurance, just performing a pit stop currently. But thanks to everyone getting in touch. Please do send in your questions and we will facilitate them the best we can. As we see riders heading down pit lane, this chrome burner trying to get after our leaders, National Motos Honda. We're quickly approaching this half race distance now, Chris, aren't we? It's and I imagine that mental state, it's once you get past halfway, you're
on the home straight then, aren't you? Slowly but
surely. You're on a 12-hour home straight. You've done 24-hour races. Is there a point when you get into the second half where you're like, we're now chasing the checkered flag? I mean, it's almost, does that change at all mentally for you?
Well, it might be different for different people, but
how was your experience?
12 hours, it's a bit like, you know, you're running a marathon. It's like you got to the halfway stage and, you know, you're on the home straight now, just about. So you get to that 12 hours and it's nice because you are on the second half of the race now. You're starting to close in on the finish, and then it starts to turn into a bit of a not a drag is perhaps not the right word, but it's a bit of a drain then because you've still got a long way to go. I mean, it's a bit like when you do a long distance running race. We did a half marathon recently. Like when you get to maybe 10, 11k, great, we're on the home stretch now. It gets to about 12, 13k, and I think, well, I've still got ages to go yet, and I'm knackered.
I was just about to say that. It's
a similar sort of principle, I think.
Someone tells you you're halfway there, the person next to them says, yeah, but you've got 12 hours to go.
So say in running, you get to the last 5k, just a park run to go, and sometimes that can be worse than it sounds, I think. So similar principle in endurance racing.
It's which statement you want to take.
Yeah.
I'll take the you're halfway there or you're 12 hours to go. This is
41, I think.
Yeah, what's happened here then? Let's have a look.
Certainly some nice footage of the brake blows. I think it's just demonstrating here how some of the how cold things are right now as well. We've certainly seen cool track temperatures. I was told earlier that the local track temperature, it's very cool out there. Looking at about 6.5 degrees, I believe. So we are getting into the colder parts of the night now. It's going to drop to about 2-3 degrees locally at Le Mans. Very cool temperatures as Etoile back into the pits. Very quick stop for them, and they're handily placed fourth in the Superstock right now. 12th overall for the all-Japanese team on the BMW as they make their way back out onto the track. Still handily placed for the podium in terms of Superstock and some very useful championship points. Etoile have had a very strong first part of the race and are very well placed as they make their way into the second part of the programme. as taking the helmet off there and taking a break is going to be, I think that's Yudai Kamai for Team Etoile, taking a well-deserved break, and well, he looks happy, doesn't he? And
he does.
You can blame him because, you know, 4th place, just doing nicely so far.
Very, very nicely, and have plenty to be happy about. To Team Etoile, they're almost halfway.
Yeah,
they should be happy, but just 12 hours to go. We're approaching half race distance very quickly here at Le Mans. Welcome to all of you joining us on the live coverage. Myself, Chris McCarthy, Chris Sora here with you to take you to half race distance, and that is where we're going to be very shortly. Now, it's a real pleasure to have your company. If you've been with us for the whole race so far, thank you so much for being with us. What drama we've seen, whether you've been in and out the race, if you're just joining us, thank you for tuning in to this first of 4 rounds in the Endurance World Championship. You've picked a good one, certainly, to watch the 24-hour here at Le Mans. Currently leading the #1 yacht, Yamaha. They're being chased by BMW. Yamaha looking for their 5th win in this famous race. BMW their first, and then we've got that number 11 in 3rd place. Kawasaki looking to get to what would be a record 15th win. Then the number 12 charging back through Yoshimura after their crash earlier. Then the number 4, Tati Team Behringer. Then we have our lead super stock in 6th place. The National Motos Honda bike in 6th place overall. RAC Chrome-Burner are 7th, and then 3rd is Slider Endurance. After that, or was, they have just dropped to 4th in super stock class. It's the 111 Team Avio bike who looks to have come up a place there now. And then after that, looking a little bit further down, we have teams coming back through the field. Mike D'Amelio on his number 5 is coming back through the field. The FCC Honda KM99, another one to watch, aren't they? They're coming back through the field as well. They're currently up to 27th place. And let's just quickly, Chris, before we talk more, confirm our retirees. Sadly, we lost the number 44 Honda No Limits team, which had an incident within the last hour, I'd say. Had a big crash coming down to Les Muses, unfortunately. Big high side bike barrel rolling through the gravel. Pit Lane Endurance are out. 212 Ferg Motors Events are out. Uniserva out. Team Racing 85 likewise. We lost Team Louis April 33, unfortunately, quite a while ago now. And the 333 Honda Viltaz Racing is out. So 7 teams currently out of the race. 41 remain.
Yeah, not too bad considering the potentially difficult conditions out there. Too many incidents in the night when you see how much the track temperatures are dropping at the moment. And the fight now very much on for 3rd position now, because Dan Linford has been absolutely charging. 5 laps separating the top 4 teams right now. And Dan Linford is now on the same lap. Well, Ramos just turning on to lap 415. And Linford was 1 minute 19 behind the 3rd place, number 11, the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar team, sitting in 3rd with Roman Ramos on the machine. Nicolo Canepa is, of course, on the lead Yamaha team, the blue rider, the one who was charging away as we watched Dan Linford, that all-action style. Interesting to watch, of course, the rider cam earlier on. We see, of course, in the night with the clear visors, you can really see the rider's eyes, and during the day, of course, you've got the tinted visors, a little bit of a poker face almost with the vision obscured, but you can really see how much the riders are concentrating and looking ahead far down the track at all times. Linford will be coming up towards the finish line. I'm going to see how much, if any, he's closed the gap. Ramos has picked up a 1:39 last time round in 3rd place. As we watch Linford charging back towards the Burf's in the middle of the lap now. He's got about a 1/3 of a lap to go, so we're going to watch Linford over the line in a few moments as we draw ever closer to the halfway stage here. 24 Motos here at Le Mans. And finally poised here, you would certainly say that Yamaha are the favourites going into the second half of the race. They're in the controlling seat at the moment, 3 laps ahead. But the charging pack not too far behind. Reiterberger in second on the BMW. Ramos in third, and Linford over the line, bringing the gap down another few seconds, 1:16.685. So the 4th place team still very much on the charge. Yoshimura Cert Motul with Dan Linford on the machine on his stint right now, and bringing that gap down to 1:16 between 3rd and 4th place, and getting a little bit closer, Chris, in the super stocks as well. We've still got the 55 leading the class, and they've been fairly untroubled for the last hour or so, National Motos Honda, but Cronenberger in second, just starting to close that gap in 7th position.
I must thank Nick Green, by the way, getting in touch, who's answered one of our questions. The illuminated number boards are made from electroluminescent panels. Quite complicated, apparently. They don't look very pretty during the day. Thank you to Nick Green, who did get in touch a little bit earlier as well. Hope you're enjoying the coverage. So that answers that for us. And thank you to Nick there. There we see Tati Team Beringer watching on. Hope you're enjoying the racing as much as we are, Nick, and everyone tuning in. As Tati Team Beringer now come in to perform a pit stop. Now, a team we can't really count out of the podium places either. They're very much in that running, aren't they? If something is to go wrong, then they move into contention. They've just got to stay in the hunt, haven't they, Tati Team Beringer?
Yeah, they've had a nice steady race so far. They've not really troubled the leaders much, but they're hanging on in there. They're about 8 laps down on the leader right now, so that's in reality about 10 minutes off the leader. So
they've just got to stay in there, haven't they? They've just got to stay in there. Last time around, by the way, Yoshimura were 3 seconds faster than the number 11 Kawasaki ahead.
Yeah, Ramos trying to respond in third, but Dan Linford absolutely charging right now, putting in some very consistently quick lap times. And
I mean, the gap's not a lap anymore, is it? It's come down to 1:15.
1:15. So he's found another second and a half last time round. So I think when Ben and Dave take over in about 10 minutes' time, they could be watching a bit of on-track action here at the halfway stage.
I'd say if you have just tuned in, you've picked a good time, because we're going to see a battle for third. We're going to see a real chase on for third, and the gap is going to be coming down, and we could even see a change for third. If that continues at that rate within the next hour, we could see a change.
Possibly.
But don't forget, rider changes are going to happen.
I think
with
Ramos, he's still got about, I think, about 20 minutes maybe, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Kawasaki fans will completely disagree with that and will say, look, rider changes, but all I will say is Dan Linford is taking a big chunk out of that gap.
He's charging hard at this stage at the first part of his stint, and of course keep an eye on the BMW in second. 3 laps down on the leader, but lapping at the same pace pretty much, Markus Reiterberger. And the BMW with the potential advantage of the greater range. They might be able to keep that machine out just that little bit longer than the leaders. They're 3 laps down at the moment, so in reality, if you're looking at 1:37, maybe about 4.5, just under 5 minutes separating first and second place in terms of time. So Yamaha continuing to maintain that cushion at the front, but BMW, I think, still very much in the reckoning here. And they were just about 3 laps down, so rapidly approaching the halfway point here. The 2024 24 Motos here at Le Mans, and as you can see on the graphic, the tyre walls are still wide open, with Bridgestone leading from Dunlop Pirelli in third, so still wide open in terms of the tyres as well as the manufacturers. You would say at the moment that Yamaha very much the team to beat in the first half of the race, but we're going to be looking at Yacht trying to continue this into the second part of the race.
Well, here we can see a little bit what's been going on down in pit lane. The mechanics have been hard at work to service these bikes and make sure they have gone back out. It's been hard at work throughout at times. FCC Honda had a big fall earlier in the race, had to get that one back. We've seen this not too long ago. TRT came in. It seemed just a standard service at first, but it turned into a bit of a longer pit stop in the end for them. Eventually, we saw them coming back out onto the track. It wasn't a long pit stop. I wouldn't call it a long pit stop, but it just took a little bit of time. I'd say they took the necessary time for that one to make sure everything was in place. But it's a fantastic effort all the mechanics and teams put in, and this the time where if they have a chance they'll just try and get a bit of shut-eye in the back of the garage, and you can see the look like on a whiteboard there just some rotors trying to go down. Gotta say massive effort that's going in. And from the riders out on track, we're almost halfway, everyone. Well, just under 10 minutes before we reach that halfway point, Chris.
Yeah, and just speaking of, you mentioned the 27 TRT 27AZ Moto machine. Actually, Thomas Ward breaking them back into the getting back into the top 20 now after that rather lengthy service they had a little earlier in the race. Don't think it was anything other than routine, but just taking a little bit of time in the garage and back into the top 20 now. We're of course, the other thing to watch out for is that battle of third place. Depends when, really does depend on when the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar team bring that rider in as to whether we'll have any on-track action, but they really are closing up in fourth place as we go back to our leader, Nicolo Canepa, looking good on the Bridgestone shod Yamaha. And of course, Dunlop in there in second with the BMW Motorrad World Endurance team. BMW looking for their main victory in second place, just about 3 laps down on the leaders, but still very much in contention with half the race to go, coming up to that 12-hour marker all the time. And then the battle for third just hotting up. It's getting close, 6th and 7th with the Superstores. Valentin Souchet still in 6th place, the number 55 National Motos Honda, with the closing number 41 for Kronberger, who had a very good couple of hours and still putting in some very quick lap times, with Wayne Tessels, and now into 7th place. So Supersports still quite close there, Chris.
Yep, it's close, isn't it? It's close. And
actually a little bit further down, I've just noticed that Rodi Pakasrin, the 119 on Team Slider Endurance, going back into 3rd place from the Aprilia, the 111. So Aviabike dropping down to 4th momentarily, and Pakasrin moving up to 11th position, and still Team Etoile right in there in 13th overall, 4th in the super stock category. So Canepa leading the gap now 106 between 3rd and 4th, as well as the charge continues. There we see, perfectly illustrating the difference between the super stock and the EWC, the colour of the headlights, white denoting EWC, yellow denoting super stock.
Yeah, great to get that difference, isn't it? As you mentioned, it is close for that battle, but also the battle for 3rd as well in Superstock.
I think when we get Ben and Dave and Ben back in here, I think we could be in for a rather crucial couple of hours.
We've got 119 Slider Endurance, we've got the 111, then we've got the 25 after that. We've got the 36, the 8. I mean, they're all there, aren't they? 11th down to 15th,
yeah,
all in a line, which is good to see. Battle for the lead, though. Likewise out front, halfway distance, approaching fast. Just 5 minutes away from reaching that halfway point here at Le Mans. And it's that time where the fatigue is setting in both on track and off it. Chris
mechanics, of course, grabbing a few brief moments where they can. So with Ben Rumbold and Dave Goddard stepping in to take over in just a few minutes, I think we could well be in here, Chris, for a potentially important couple of hours.
Yeah, we'll see, of course, fatigue setting in here in the commentary box as well. And with that, we will do a swaps of our own. We've got fatigue setting in out there as well. Kawasaki mean business. Look at that, gloves are on down there, which is great to see. And we're keeping warm down in the carriage down there. Always great. I tell you what, it's always the camera operators at Le Mans always go hunting in the garages, which is great to see. They always get down there when we get into the evening parts of the race and make sure they find their way around to see how the teams are being set up, which is always fantastic to watch. And Chris Sauer now stepping out for his evening. We are going to do swaps of our own. Dave Goddard about to take his position, and he will be followed by Ben Rumbold after that. And they will then be with you for the next 3 hours of the race. And as myself and Chris Sauer were just mentioning, during that 3 hours we have, I think, what's going to be a pretty entertaining fight going on for third place overall. We've got the top two fairly close together in Superstock, but we've got the battle for third as well, and then we've got these charges coming back through the field as well, which of course we have to keep an eye on. That's just going to be a constant game. But this nighttime shift, Dave Goddard, someone who has commentated on many, I'm sure, a 24-hour race, this is going to be the moment where we are going to see certainly some casualties, shall we say, when we look at the order, Dave.
Well, we hope for no more attrition, certainly in the order tonight as we enter the witching hour here in central France. Yes, welcome to the night shift once again as we are just coming up 2 minutes to go until the half-distance mark here in the 24 Heures Moto here at Le Mans for 2024, and there is the machine that has dominated proceedings so far. They've already picked up maximum points from qualifying, and at the 8-hour mark at 10 p.m. UK time, 11 p.m. local time earlier on. That is the Yamaha team, and just as we take over the number 37 BMW coming in from second place. That's Ilya Mikhalchik that has just taken over that machine. Look at the flames out of the exhaust there on the pit speed limiter before heading back out onto track. It's more like a drag racing machine there, very spectacular indeed. I don't think we'll see any burnouts from the BMW M1000RR though, as Ilya Mikhalchik gets underway, adding another dimension to the incredible nighttime atmosphere that we are seeing here. So Nicolo Canepa on board the Yamaha at the moment, ahead of Ilya Mikhalchik. Roman Ramos is in third place on the number 11, the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar machine. Dan Linfoot still going strong on the Suzuki. Great recovery by the Yoshimura Cert Moto Suzuki team after that spill for Greg Black earlier on. The subsequent penalty, recovering through into P4 ahead of Randy Krummenacher on the number 4 Tati Team Behringer Racing Honda. So 5 different makes in the top 5 places at the moment overall. In terms of Superstock, it is Valentin Suchet who leads the way on the number 55, the National Motos Honda, the younger of the two Swiss brothers, ahead of Wayne Tessels on the number Plenty of riders and personnel finding sleeping solutions in the pit boxes at the moment. Yes, give us a smile, you're on camera. Number 65 team, that's the Motobox Kramer racing team from Germany. Daniel Rubin currently in 10th position on their number 65 Yamaha, the all-German team. Motobox Kramer stalwarts of the last few years of the World Endurance Championship, and on for a decent result as things stand at the moment in the Endurance World Championship category. So we have reached halfway, 12 hours gone, 12 to go in the first round of this year's FIM Endurance World Championship, the 24 Heures Motos 2024. Let's have a look at some of the highlights then, as I'm joined by Ben Rumbold once again of the first half of this race.
Yes, here we go then, guys. Good evening, good morning, everybody. Hope all is bright and well in your world, and thank you so much for joining us, as Dave says, here in the witching hour. Myself, Ben Rumbold, alongside David Goddard, to kick off the second half of the Le Mans 24 Heures Moto. And yeah, you can see here the battles going on in both classes. Number one, Yamaha, that's just about the only wheel that they've put wrong. We touch wood, obviously, just to make sure that we don't curse them from that side of it. But there went the FCC TSR Honda outfit, the first of a couple of spills for them, losing out there. So yeah, we're all good. So not so good there for FCC Honda, and 333 Vilte is also struggling as well. The Hugs there only just a couple of hours in for them. We barely even saw them on our stint here, Dave. And then yeah, down goes Greg Black. So the Yoshimura team having its issues there, which has put them right back in the order, although they are now on the chase down, as we hear, for third position now. As we watch this, the WeBike Trickstar Kawasaki is ready to Pugnier set the KM99 Yamaha down the road there, and yeah, the WeBike Trickstar Kawasaki is currently in the pit lane, changing over there with Gregory Leblanc getting onto the machine. Had a bit of a comedy of errors going on there, and of course, yeah, the 212 sent the bike down and sent the safety car out. The only one we've seen so far, touch wood once more. But yeah, from that side.
Now you've cursed it.
You give me a look there, Dave, but I find quite the safety car's quite entertaining. There you go. Anyway, yeah, so that's that was an issue there for the LR there for the number 9 BMW there, the Techmas MRP machine, and we understand that there might well be a problem for Loic Arbel and his shoulder, although that's already happening, and it's Hans Zuma who had the crash. That was a big one there. The number 83 bike, I think that was, that sent it down the road.
85, that was Team Racing 85 by Sulian there, out of the race.
And also number 44, the Honda No Limits machine as well, looking decidedly second hand. And high side there as well as the cold temperatures catching out these riders, getting on the gas. That looked to me like a Suzuki. Yes, it's the 34 of the JMA Racing Action Bike Squad hit the floor there. As, we must apologise if you've seen these before. Ourselves, we've seen a few of the highlights there. We've been getting ready to get back into the commentary booth here, but yeah, some of us seen some of these crashes for the first time. 41 Kronberner trying to pick up the pace now in second place, of course. They have got 2 laps to try and chase down the National Motos Honda, but of course, as we have the 2 square boxes in the studio here, anything can happen, and there's a long way to go. So it's the 2 things that we can always say here in endurance racing, and as they used to say in my old circuit training facility there, we are halfway for the 24 Heures Moto, and we now see the overall classification on your screens there. Yamaha having a 4-lap lead over BMW Motorrad, and briefly Yoshimura Cert Moto Suzuki do take over third from Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar, who have just gone into the pits, but we know that Dan Linfoot must come in very soon as well for Cert. But that is the battle now for third and fourth. They have stretched away from the number 4 machine of the Tati Team Behringer bike. Pick out your teams and riders you're supporting there on the screen between positions 9 and 16, and that includes the 3rd place super stock machine there of the Team Snyder Insurance, Roddy Pack Azrin getting stuck into that. And then we go 17 to 24. You can see how far down the FCC TSR Honda boys are there, just behind ADSS 97, who keep on keeping on.
Yeah, the Honda number 5's never really recovered from those two earlier spills for first Josh Hook and then Mike D'Amelio. So their hopes of back-to-back wins here at Le Mans sadly have ended. Another bike that's dropped a long way down the order after problems is the KM99 machine. That's down in position 32 at the moment with Jeremy Guarnoni on board. That's another of the podium favourites that has dropped right out of contention. 41 bikes running out of the 48 who started to run you through the bikes not running at this stage. The number 44 crashed out. That's the Honda No Limits machine. Alexis Maspu was on board at the time. Pit lane endurance. Their efforts finally expiring after a rather chaotic race for them. The 212 bike, the WERC Motors Events Suzuki, we saw that have a big crash that brought out the safety car, but that has subsequently, they did rejoin at one stage, but have now dropped out of the race. The number 82, the team from Kazakhstan, Uniserv Moto 82 team, they're out. Team Racing 85 we mentioned, and of course two of the bigger names that are not in the race now. The number 33, team 33, Louis April Moto, one of the favourites in the super stock class, and sadly the treble 3 Honda Viltais Racing, the reigning independent team world champions, had engine failure early on and are out of the race. So it is the number 1 Yamaha ridden by Nicolo Canepa, the reigning World Endurance Champions. Yamaha sharing with Marvin Fritz and Karel Haneke. They lead by 4 laps at the halfway stage ahead of the BMW number 37, the BMW Motorrad World Endurance team. Ilya Michalczyk, Sylvain Guintoli and Markus Reiterberger. And now the Suzuki is back up into 3rd place, I can tell you. Dan Linfoot riding superbly on his debut with the Suzuki team, sharing with Greg Black and Etienne Masson. Not forgetting Kokoro Atsumi, the Japanese reserve rider. Reserve riders do have a role to play, of course, even if they're not taking part in the race. They kind of act like the 12th man in a cricket team. They take part in practice and qualifying. They have to, just in case they're called in to race, because everybody has to do their qualifying laps. But they also play a part in helping to set up various parts of the bike for the members of their team and making sure everything is right for them, kind of like the older domestic team riders in the Tour de France that you used to see, helping their teammates have a chance of winning the race overall, and also helping to win the team's classification in more recent years, of course.
Yes, absolutely, the 4th riders, and I'm sure that, well, obviously it's become the case now that the 4th riders are now part of the Superstock class. They now have the chance to join proceedings, and in fact there were some late moves there in the paddock there. In fact, our very own Joe Ackroyd, and I say our very own because he's been in this commentary booth the last couple of years. It's been an absolute pleasure to have him in the commentary booth with us with his experience and insights over the last couple of seasons. But he managed to get himself across from being the rider in green armbands for the experimental Matiz machine, helping them to a very creditable 14th in qualifying, but he has actually managed to get himself on board the ADSS 97 bike, who were caught out maybe by the rules or just didn't have a 4th rider, and so he has become the 4th British rider on that all-British team, and they're doing a sterling job at the moment. ADSS 97 just on the screen there, currently running in position number 22 on the circuit, and I'll have to count through the Superstockers to tell you exactly what position they are in that class. We'll just quickly do that for you and make sure we know exactly what's happening in that Superstock class, because it's not always obvious. They don't separate them on the screens, and yeah, we just catch things up for you just as well as catching things up for ourselves here. So it's currently the National Motos Honda number 55 as we see the Yoshimura crew get to work on that factory Suzuki in their efforts. That should just drop them back down to 4th briefly, so we'll see how that washes out between themselves and the WeBike Trickstar Kawasaki squad. But yeah, the Superstock class being led by the National Motos Honda by a couple of laps now from the RAC Chromeburner squad. The top 2 teams, if you like, seeking redemption, who both lost their one hand on the trophy of the World Superstock Championship, the World Cup as they call it, in the endurance world. The National Motors Honda breaking down with 35 minutes left to go at the Bol d'Or last year, which denied them the championship, and then RAC Chromeburner, who celebrated the championship on the podium, who were later excluded for an oversized fuel tank. So those 2 teams are currently 1st and 2nd in Superstock. 3rd right now is Team Identity Crisis, as you called them earlier, the Team Etoile BMW, French team, German bike, all Japanese cast, but yet they are there currently, as including Mr. Kawasaki. Yes. They're in 3rd
Mr. Kawasaki
place.
On a BMW. at this.
But we believe they are just ahead, maybe on the pit stops, because the 111 Aprilia Avio bike is right up behind them, less than 2 seconds in fact, and yeah, they have done one more pit stop, so we suspect that the Team Etoile might well be back in very soon. So either way, that's the battle for 3rd and 4th in Superstock. Then in 5th place is the 3-ARC Best of Bike Yamaha, number 36. 6th position for the 119 Team Slider Endurance, they're running nicely as well. 7th for Team Sapeur Pompier, the 2022 winners in this class, struggling and now just getting back up to speed into... Where did I say they were? 6th, 7th, that's it. And then 8th were the recovering Techmas MRP BMW, the former leaders. And then in 10th place, the number 72 machine, Junior Team Le Mans Suzuki, which is basically the college team, if you like, the students there.
Yes.
And they're doing well inside the top 10 of the class. Just outside the bubble, in 11th place is the team with much British interest, the TRT 27, currently with Tom Ward at the helm.
Yeah, I saw the Suzuki Junior team there, team of students practicing pit stops the other day. Saw some video footage on Instagram of them. They were doing a grand job because, of course, pit stops take much longer in the Super Stocks division because they haven't got the quick release on the wheels and so on, as we've seen throughout this race. So it's a little more time-consuming to change wheels and so on a Super Stock machine. But the Suzuki crew of young students were making a fine job of it, I have to say, in their practice, and it's proved so in the race as well, as they look for possible honours in the Superstock category. Gregory Carbonell currently on board that machine in P18. We mentioned the number 41 bike, that's the chrome burner machine. I think brake burner might be a better name for that bike at the moment. If you look at the front brake disc on that machine, it is glowing red hot. So we might have to see a brake change coming up later in the race if that wears out too quickly. There's a couple of bikes out there. I noticed the number 8 Team Bolliger Switzerland Kawasaki. That has its front brake disc glowing a bit as well. It's Nico Toni, I think, the Austrian rider who is currently on board that machine. We hear the hooter go off, which means somebody entering pit road. It's the Team Rosso Bordeaux Ducati, the only Ducati in the race, currently running down at the tail of the field. That's one of our 2 experimental bikes, the Ducati Panigale V4. We think that's because it's in the experimental class. So that's a V4S, not a V4R, and the V4S is a non-homologated bike, so that is running in the experimental class. The only other entry there, of course, number 45, the Métis JBB machine, which has that experimental front suspension and steering setup. If you are on the night shift with us here at Le Mans, then get in touch via X, formerly known as Twitter, and let us know where you're watching from. Let us know who you're following as well. My Twitter handle is at Mid Sports Media. That's at MID Sports Media. You can find me on Twitter and give us a message if you're staying up late, if you're in the UK or Europe, as it's currently 2:15 UK time, 3:15 local time in France, or wherever you're watching around the world. Just drop us a line. Join us here on the night shift at Le Mans.
Yeah, my Twitter handle is now up and running again. I've just rediscovered it for this event. It's Ben_Rumbold, so RUMBOLD, rum as in the drink, bold as in much braver than I actually am. But there we go. So yeah, Ben_Rumbold is myself, and you know it's me because we've got a nice team photo of us all there before the event started, looking much brighter than we are now. I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing okay for the time. So yeah, there we go. Somebody did apparently ask our predecessors in the booth here about how those brake discs can glow so bright, and it's basically a question of temperature. The carbon discs that proliferate the main racing series in the world, if you like some MotoGP, etc. They simply cannot last long enough to compete there in endurance racing, so they are steel, and it's basically a case of just they're red hot because they are slowing these machines down from close to 200 miles an hour in some circumstances, right down to walking pace. So yeah, from that side, that's simply just a result of friction and how hot they get in comparison to the darkness around them.
Yeah, the sharpest braking points on the circuit are coming out of the Dunlop curve into the chicane under the bridge. They brake from some 300 kilometres an hour coming out of the start-finish straight down to 80 kilometres an hour for the chicane, and down from 6th to 2nd gear. And also coming down the back straight, coming out of Chemin-au-Boeuf, they get up to 220 kilometres an hour up to one point there, and then for the Garage Bleu S-bend. They have to brake down to around 80 kilometres per hour. This is the section we're looking at now. They're just coming out of Garage Bleu into Racordemont, the final section of the lap, the two machines there, and then it's up over the line. This fabulous kaleidoscope of yellow and white light. The yellow headlights on the super stock machines, the white lights are the Endurance World Championship bikes. There's our second place machine, ridden by Ilya Michalczyk, regular in the IDM Superbike series, the German-based series. Originally from the Ukraine, Ilya Michalczyk made his debut in the FIM Superbike World Championship 2 years ago, substituting for the injured Michael van der Mark 2 years ago for the BMW Motorrad team. And Michael van der Mark had suffered a broken leg, and he performed respectably for the factory BMW team in Superbike. He's in second place, ahead of 2 laps ahead of Gregory Leblanc, the 5 times winner of this event, on board the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar machine that he shares with Christian Gamarino, who was a champion in the Superstock division last year with the Team 33 Louis April Moto team, who are sadly out of this race, and Roman Ramos, the Spaniard, sharing that machine as well. They currently run in third place behind the Yamaha and the factory BMW machine.
So yeah, going through the night, here we are on the Discovery Plus channel. Thank you so much to everybody for subscribing and joining us on the channel or app if you're watching it on the mobile device there, as we have been keeping in touch with it through the rain. We see the leaders lapping the leaders there. That is the Yamaha coming up on and just getting past the National Motos machine. So the leading EWC bike puts a further lap on the leading Superstocker, and this is lap 440 for Nicolo Canepa and that team right now. And yeah, they are now a full 10 laps ahead of the leading Superstock class, who are currently running 6th on track. And between them, we have the number 37, Ilya Michalczyk, is there 4 laps down for the BMW Motorrad squad. And number 11, WeBike Trickstar Kawasaki, continuing in third. And after those pit stops, the gap has washed out to just over 32 seconds. So that one is that's how the battle is resuming there. So we'll see Dan Linfoot taking chunks out of that lead in his recent stint, and now Greg Black attempting to do the same, and that time round successful again, 1.2 seconds faster that time than the Kawasaki. We've seen a message on screen here that bike number 3, that is the Team Rosso Bordeaux Ducati classed as experimental, is currently stopped at turn at number 8. So yeah, they are trying to get themselves sorted out there. Motorbots Kramer Racing currently placed 10th on the leaderboard, which is great going for them, certainly higher than they've been, which is 8th in class as well. And yeah, they are currently just in the pit stops there, so hopefully those mechanics we saw dozing are now a little bit more awake, as their bike needs some work. But coming to shot there, blazing headlights right into the camera, number 25, that's our Team Etoile. It's the first time we've seen them on the screen here, myself and Dave. So yeah, from that side, they are going well still, and yeah, they do actually genuinely hold third place there, because yeah, the Avio bike, well, there is still a pit stop between them there. They've done one less than Team Avio bike, but they still hold a 9.5 second advantage there, third place in that class.
5 of the top 6 have made 12 pit stops, the exception being the Suzuki, with Greg Black on board. They made extra stops because of a couple of mishaps earlier on. They had a ride-through penalty as well. Greg Black, the Anglo-Frenchman, born in Derbyshire but based in France. He's been a race winner in French Superbike in the past, a 2 times winner here at Le Mans in 2021 and 22 on the Suzuki. Did a lot of training in Spain over the winter as well, in a variety of disciplines, private testing at Heures de la Frontera and at Valencia as well, working with a new chief mechanic this year as well, and it's working well for Greg Black as the 24 hours continues through the night. Twelve hours, 19.5 minutes gone in this year's 24 Heures Moto 2024 here on the Le Mans Bugatti circuits, and proceedings being dominated so far by the reigning World Endurance Champions, the Yamaha team from Austria. Nicolo Canepa, despite battling a shoulder injury sustained at the Daytona 200 in the run-up to this event. Marvin Fritz from Germany and Karel Haneke of the Czech Republic, the reigning World Endurance Champions, plus, of course, the reserve rider Robin Mulhauser of Switzerland, currently 4 laps clear of the factory BMW in second place. They had the big news of the winter, of course, when Sylvain Guintoli made the move from Suzuki to BMW, showing how seriously the German manufacturer is taking its motorcycling. Guintoli's been undertaking a lot of testing work for the BMW FIM World Superbike team, which made that big money signing of Toprak Razgatlioglu, the 2021 world champion from Yamaha, over the winter. He's already proven a winner in the FIM Superbike World Championship. They're at action at the Cathedral of Speed, as it's known, Assen in the Netherlands this weekend. And of course, Yamaha then sprung their own surprise with Toprak's replacement, 6-time world champion Jonathan Rea, tempted away from Kawasaki to join Yamaha. And Assen this weekend scored his first super pole for the Yamaha team. Rain played havoc with the first race of the weekend. If you haven't seen that race, I won't broadcast any spoilers for that one, but it certainly is worth watching the first race from Saturday, as one of the Kawasaki's makes its way into pit road.
Yes, I think you would have got long odds on that winner, not to say too much about it there. But yeah, of course, the #1 team currently leading, and that's no that's not a strange occurrence here at Le Mans. The reigning champions have done well over the last few seasons. The #1 plate being held last year by FCC TSR Honda, and they won it. The year before that, and the year before that, in fact, the Search Squad also won with #1 bolted onto the front of the bike. And even before that, Kawasaki France, winners of 2019, did so as reigning champions. So yeah, it certainly is gotten everybody off to a good start when they are the reigning champions coming here to Le Mans. But of course, last couple of seasons have not seen the rest of the year pan out that way for these winners. And here we are now. This is I've just missed the race number there, 24. So this is the team that's moved up. BMRT 3D Maxis Nevers from France. They finished last year's Le Mans in 9th place in the Superstock class. So yeah, that was their last with the red number plates, and now they have moved up there. And we can see there that that was, I believe, the red armbanded rider, was it? Laurie Cresson just took over there. And yeah, they qualified in 10th place in their first race in this class. So that's no small feat. No, it was actually Cresson coming off the bike. My apologies there. So that must mean then that maybe the blue armbanded of Julien Pilot. What's that, Wakanda Forever? Is that the sign he just gave us? But yeah, as you can see again, the scuff marks on the chest there that the riders do wear into their leathers as they grind these laps out. 400 plus laps for most of the field now. And yeah, so Lloyd Cresson enjoying a croissant, I guess, maybe, perhaps.
Oh dear. Until it's late at night, can't you? Loris Cresson, the Belgian racer, who briefly appeared in World Superbike a couple of years ago with the Pedicini Kawasaki team. Julien Pilot, something of an endurance veteran, has taken over on the team that, as we mentioned, has graduated from the Superstock class, and they're giving a good account of themselves here. They were running in 9th place prior to that pit stop. We've had a fall at turn 10 for the number 14, the Mako Racing team, the Slovakian squad on their Yamaha.
Oh, and there they are on the screen, I believe. Yeah, it's just coming out the Dunlop Bridge. Whoa.
That's a big spill there.
Yeah.
For, I think that's the number 14 bike. A little tricky to see with the bike cartwheeling there. Yes, number 14, the Mako Racing team. Let's have a look. Max Meltzer, the Austrian, was on that bike, and that certainly looks very battered and bruised. The rider's okay, helping the marshals to recover the machine, but a rebuild job certainly needed there for the squad from Slovakia.
Yes, indeed. That's not going to come out in a cold wash, is it? That's going to need an awful lot of work there. So, yeah, are the Mako team going to be able to finish this race? Of course, they need to finish on the same lap as the winning bike to register as a finisher and have completed 75% minimum of the race distance that the winners record. So yeah, that's how they're looking from that side. Let's to give a comparison from there, the 23 results, and as they just evade me there. I've gone to the wrong screen and got myself stuck. So yeah, we'll come back to you with that train of thought very soon.
Well, Max Meltzer was the reserve for Mako Racing. It was a rather cosmopolitan lineup they had this year. Originally, Martin Vugrinec, the Croatian rider, was scheduled to race for them, but not able to do so. The ex-Red Bull Rookies Cup and World Supersport rider, among others. And Max Meltzer called in alongside the Bulgarian Martin Choi, who made his World Endurance debut in 2014. He's ridden in the World Cup with the Energy Endurance squad. He's ridden for Motobox Kramer, the German squad, last season as well. Yet to crack the top 10 at Le Mans, and the other member of that team is Takeshi Ishizuka from Japan, who's competed in the Spanish Moto2 Championship for the last few years. He competed in the World Cup for a couple of different teams, including the Tone RT Sync Edge BMW squad, where he rode in the Suzuka 8 Hours, among other events. So no change among the leaders at the moment. It's still Niccolò Canepa who leads the way. 445 laps complete. I'll look down the times in a moment just to see when he last pitted. That was on lap 414, so that bike is due a stop fairly soon, the race leader. Ilya Michalczyk in second place. When did the BMW last come in? We just need to make a quick diversion onto the timing screen here to look at the lap chart for each machine. 441 laps completed by him. I think his pit stop was a little bit later than the Yamaha's. Yes, lap 425, so he's not due in just yet, Ilya Michalczyk. At third place we've got Gregory LeBlanc, 6 laps down on the leader, so a further 2 behind on the WeBike Trickstar Kawasaki. Kawasaki France with an enviable record in world endurance over the years, and he stopped 15 laps ago, so the Kawasaki not due in yet. So that seems so. The next of the leaders to stop should be the race-leading Yamaha. Just as we came on shift at 2 a.m, we saw Randy Krummenacher take over the number 4, the Tati Team Beringer Honda. Of course, that team switching from Kawasaki to Honda Power this year, and they're upholding Honda honour now, really, with the number treble 3 machine, the Viltais Racing Squad. Florian Alt, Stephen Odendahl and Tati Mercado out of the race with engine problems early on, and the number 5 FCC TSR Honda France machine, last year's winners Josh Hook, Mike D'Amiglio and Alan Tecker, badly delayed by a couple of crashes early on. Several bikes from the midfield coming into the pits, including the Tecmas MRP BMW, which is running again after a big spill earlier on. Unfortunately, in that incident, the Estonian Hannes Suma, we believe, may have suffered a broken collarbone in that incident, unfortunately. So that's the case. Get well soon to the former world supersport man. Also into the pits is the number 27, the TRT 27 AZ Moto machine. French team with all British riders. That's the team Michael Dunlop, TT legend, is competing for this year, along with Thomas Oliver, Thomas Ward and Ben Luxton.
And we've also seen the Superstock leaders are now in the pits as well. The National Motos Honda squad working their way in there. So that is time for them to change. They've got a buffer, no problem there in terms of the lead. So they're not in danger of losing that during this pit stop. But of course, yeah, you never quite know if anything will go wrong in those. We obviously hope not. But yeah, we'll see. Keep a close eye on those. As the TRT 27 AZ boys just get things over, and we'll hopefully see that flash up there. Kenny Foray takes over at the controls of the BMW now. He has obviously got extensive experience and now looking to try and get that team back to any sort of position where they might be able to challenge to retain their title of Le Mans winner, which they earned last year in that class.
We said... Sorry,
go on, no, go
sorry Ben, said the Yamaha were ready to make a stop soon, and Karel Hanneke is ready to take over from Niccolò Canepa. So that bike will know when he's coming in, because coming out of the final corner, I was about to say he'd put his leg in the air to warn his rivals that he's slowing down. He didn't do so. He went straight into the pit lane because there was nobody near him. So the leader is in for the Yacht Yamaha team's 13th pit stop of the race at the end of lap 448. We'll see the team go to work. Will there be a tyre change this time for the Yamaha, the Bridgestone shod machine? Plus the tyre makes in this race, Bridgestone, Dunlop, Pirelli represented in there as well. Dunlop with the majority because, of course, the super stock bikes all on the Dunlop tyres. In goes the fuel. And then we will see Karel Haneke, the Czech Republic rider, climb aboard. Was in the top 10 at the Daytona 200 at the beginning of the season over in Florida. And away he goes. Good stop by the Yamaha team. They retain their comfortable lead.
Yeah, nice and slick, as you would expect from one of the top squads in this championship there, the Yamaha Austria Racing Team. So pitting on lap 448, so that puts them pretty much bang on. Again, a 34-lap stint, and they've barely moved from that. 34 or 35 laps for all of their stints so far, apart from the safety car period where they added a couple to it. They did 37 laps back there, about halfway to where we are now. So yeah, that's as you would expect, like clockwork, running well, and the debrief ensues now with their blue armbanded rider Nicola Canepa. They've done 448 laps so far, like we say, just over halfway now, 12 hours 30 into the race. The winning total last year was 827 for the FCC Honda boys, 802 for the winning super stocks there, the Techmas BMW team. So yeah, it gives you an impression, it gives you an idea there. They are slightly ahead of where they might be, which is what you might expect when you just have the one safety car so far. I keep saying it, or maybe I am tempting fate, but anyway, that's just how it goes from there. So as it stands now, BMW got themselves marginally closer now that the Yamaha team have pitted, but still quite a lead built up for this squad, and they will just want to keep it going just like that. Thank you very much for the next, for the second half of this race, which has just begun. So in come Team Bolliger Switzerland. They are in from 6th place. So that keeps them running well. 6th place at EWC, 7th on circuit. And the Bolliger guys doing nicely there at the moment, flying the flag for Kawasaki, although that's being done by the team that should be flying that flag there, the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar factory effort, running nicely in 3rd at the moment with the veteran Gregory Leblanc in control.
Yes, Yamaha with a new crew chief this year as well. Former rider Max Neukirchner has taken over as their crew chief, replacing Andrew Pitts, the Australian, who's now working with Jonathan Ray in the FIM Superbike World Championship, of course. He's worked with Andrea Locatelli in Superbike for Yamaha as well. Nicola Canepa does a lot of testing work for that team as well. Quite a few test riders for the leading road racing teams competing in this race this weekend. Florian Marino, I know, does a lot of work behind the scenes. We mentioned Sylvain Guintoli at BMW as well. It's still that 4-lap advantage maintained. The bike in P13 overall, number 36, the 3-Art Best of Bike team has come into the pits. That's the Yamaha ridden by Doriano Vietti-Ramos of Italy, Christopher Kemmer of Austria, and Maiku Watanaku of Japan, plus Frenchman Guillaume Pot. And who will see who's going to take over that machine in just a moment, as Karel Haneke continues to lead. The BMW still has the fastest lap of the race. I believe that was recorded by Ilya Michalczyk earlier on, 1:35.904. The leaders currently lapping in the 1:37s, 38s with the much cooler track temperatures. The grip levels will be lower. Most of the field lapping in the low 140s, 141s, 142s at the moment. Fastest man on track just at the moment is Greg Black in 4th place on the Suzuki. His last lap was a 1:37.1.
Amazing the names that come up there. You mentioned Max Neukirchner, and I remember him as one of those promising stars that just got wiped out by injury really badly. Had a big crash, I believe, in the start of one race where one bike took out about 3 or 4 riders, and Max was right in the middle of that. He recorded 2 World Superbike wins back in the day, and that day being 2013-14. So yeah, Max Neukirchner, as we say, the one of the team bosses, the crew chiefs there for the Yamaha squad, and yeah, he is making his mark there now. 41 years old is where he is.
Yeah, it's great to have, despite the new squad, still just as successful, the reigning endurance world champions.
So I just finished with that point. He's actually 24. He's actually 41 years old yesterday. There we go. Yesterday was his birthday. So many happy returns.
Belated birthday wishes to
that was the Saturday,
Yamaha man.
Right, anyway, so yes, we move on, and the race is going through. As we say, definitely give us a shout on X over here, at Ben_Rumbold, and yourself there, say yours again. At Mid Racing?
Yeah, at Mid Sports Media, MID Sports Media. Well, Midland Sports Media is my trading name, but that was a bit too long for Twitter when I joined up all those years ago. So at Mid Sports Media, MID Sports Media. Mentioning birthdays, it's a double celebration at Yacht Yamaha because it was Marvin Fritz's birthday yesterday.
Oh, wow.
As well. Turned 31 years of age, so belated birthday wishes to Marvin Fritz. We'll see him out for the next stint once Karel Haneke has completed his stint. He'll take over at, I would say, around 3:15 UK time, 4:15 European time.
And the chase continues for third place as Greg Black is catching his fellow Greg, Monsieur Leblanc. So we've got Mr. Black chasing the white, and it is 15.2 seconds back now for the Suzuki squad. They've both had their sort of even out now with the pit stops. Difficult to tell because, of course, the Suzuki squad have had the couple extra there caused by the little accidents that Mr. Black has had. So, yeah, from that side, they are now still closing back in to try and salvage at least a podium position from this one, and then just 2 further laps up the road, and they've still got just less than half the race to do it, of course, are the BMW squad. So CERT looking to recover from their earlier crashes, which they fell completely on their own. Last year they had help in the first corner with a certain Mr. Hook cutting under Greg Black in the first corner last year. But this year they have been completely the administrator of all their own wrongdoings. And yeah, they are still now trying to recover us. Getting through there, that's the KM99 squad, and they were running nicely until Mr. Mr. Depunier sent the bike up the road a couple of times, and yeah, they are still now right down in 32nd place on circuit. So they still have a long, long way to go to try and recover back to where certainly their pace would justify themselves to be. And yeah, that bike is currently lapping a 1 minute 39.1, which is good enough to be right amongst the top 5 or 6 contenders. So certainly they have the speed to recover and get further up the grid.
Well, you can see from the analysis Well, you can see from the lap time comparison between the Kawasaki and Greg Black on the Suzuki that the gap is coming down between the two. It's down to just over 14 seconds now, the battle for the final podium place. So they could be together on track fairly soon. Greg Black currently lapping in the fairly low 137s, and Gregory Leblanc, his last lap was 0.8 of a second slower. So Black is reeling in the Frenchman on the WeBike Kawasaki here. Must say a quick hello to David King, who's got in touch via social media, watching this race for the first time. Hope you're enjoying the action, David. Do get your messages in via our social links. I've already mentioned Twitter. There's various other social media channels too, of course. The hashtag for this event is hashtag 24HMoto. 12.5 hours gone now. We continue into the small hours of the morning. The track temperature will continue falling. It's scheduled to hit its low at around 5 or 6 a.m. local time. The temperature will drop to around 3 degrees Celsius here in central France. It's been rather bizarre weather-wise. We're supposed to be in early summer almost at the moment, late spring, early summer, but it's been reasonably warm during the days and very cold during the nights. So the seasons can't make up its mind. It's more British weather than French weather, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, and there's still 4 hours of darkness to come before the sun starts to peek over the horizon at Le Mans, should we say? So just before 7 a.m. local time is when the skies come up, but it's not supposed to get much warmer there in the following hours, even climbing to the highs of 10 or 12 by the time the race has finished. So yeah, they're certainly not going to see tropical conditions there. The hot weather soft tyres are maybe going to stop stay in the truck for now.
Yes, the slightly warmer weather we hoped for at the the Spa 8 hours in Belgium, but then again, it normally rains at some point at Spa, doesn't it, during every event?
Yes, if you mentioned Spa to the rider that's currently with ADSS 97, the green armbands there of Mr. Joe Ackroyd, then yeah, he has a little shudder through himself as the rain break forced us into about a 90-minute spell of talking with nothing happening on track. So that was a nice welcome to commentary for Mr. Ackroyd. So yeah, we got through that, and in the end, it was actually caused for a really good dramatic finish there, although the man on track, Mr. Greg Black, didn't exactly agree with me when I posted that was a great finish, because of course they lost out to FCC Honda TSR in a move that proved crucial for them taking that 2022 World Championship.
Well, there is the Suzuki of Greg Black, and he's scheduled to catch Gregory LeBlanc in around 8 laps from now, we can see there. So the Suzuki, with flames spitting from the exhaust on occasions there, is closing in on the Frenchman. It's LeBlanc against Black for third place very shortly.
Yeah, they're just making the headlines far too easy for us, aren't they? The yin and the yang, these two guys. And yeah, Greg going nicely at the moment.
Yeah, a certain Michael Jackson song comes to mind when they're two are battling.
Yes, very good indeed. Yeah, Dave did mention there the upcoming rounds. Of course, yeah, Spa this year, an 8-hour race. Do not ask us the reasons why, but we guess that the lighting, always a bit of an issue up there in the Ardennes. It's causing problems there to shorten the race down to an 8-hour event. That happens on the 8th of June, of course, a one-day event when it's like that. And then, yeah, 21st of July, we'll see us head out to the far east there to Suzuka for the classic 8-hour confrontation there, the 21st of July. And then the Endurance World Championship season closes with the second 24-hour race in France, of course, the Bol d'Or down there at the Castillé-Paul Ricard circuit on the 14th of September to round out the season. And yeah, the championship never fully decided until that event because yeah, we've seen several times the World Championship change hands in that event. The FCC Honda TSR team know that all too well, coming in leading the championship last year and then left it in 4th position after problems.
There is the Suzuki, and the gap is down to just over 10 seconds now between Gregory LeBlanc and Greg Black. The Anglo-Frenchman chasing hard on the number 12 machine. The Suzuki, you can see, has made 3 more pit stops. That's because of repairs after that. There's a couple of mishaps early on the ride-through penalty. It was awarded as well for moving the machine in the wrong direction after recovering from that fall early on when Greg Black was leading the race on the Suzuki. He's getting past one of the Hondas there as he heads up.
That's the,
over the brow.
That is the red that's caught you out there, Dave. That's the Sapeur Pompier Yamaha, of course, the number 18 machine. And yeah, he is actually, they are running in 7th in class from that side. Maxime Pelizzotti, the 2020. You're saying my 20 is too much. The 2022 winners of this in the Superstock class, but yeah, they've not had such a great time since that season when they did win the World Cup. They had a torrid 23 with problems aplenty, and right now they are recovering from problems in this race to lie 7th in the stock class. In fact, they have got just a minute behind them the recovering BMW, and we've seen a crash there. Number 116, King Tire Full Gas Racing Team, currently the tail enders in the EWC class. They've fallen at turn 10, and they're currently on P30. It's Jordi Manaville, the Frenchman, who has dropped the bike there.
Yeah, that's one of the 2 non-permanent entries in the Endurance World Championship class this year. The King Tire Full Gas Racing Team, Jordi Manaville, Pierre Guella and Thomas Metier. The other being the 53, the Mana AU Competition Honda of Samuel Trub from Switzerland, and the Spanish duo Marc Miralles Gonzalez and Christian Palomares, the number 53 machine, that is, they're lying 20th at the moment. One bike coming into the pits there. We heard the hooter go off as the warning. That's the AG Racing Team number 241 machine. In fact, there's a couple more bikes in the pits further down the order with problems. One's the Ducati, the other is the number 15 of Aprilia. It was the AG Racing bike number 241 that was the next to make a pit stop from further down the order as we ride on board with number 12, Greg Black, on the Suzuki.
And now graphically illustrating the issues that new riders to this discipline do experience, as we see the shadows as he passes the spotlights around the circuit. And of course, if you're not used to those, you think you're just about to get past, because of course it's your own shadow that's coming up in front of you, and yeah, certainly is supposed to be quite a shocker there for anybody new to this discipline. But yeah, soon you get used to it, of course, as they head through, and he is going to be staring up the circuit there, hoping to see. I mean, they won't appear bright green in the gloom of the French evening, night time, I should say, early morning. But yeah, certainly he will be looking up the road to see if he can just get a glimpse of that Kawasaki in the distance there. Number 4 have just come in, actually Team Behringer just coming into the pits there for their pit stop from 5th place in the race. They've got quite a distance between themselves and the 6th place EWC bike of the number 8 Team Bolliger, Switzerland. Behringer and Bolliger have been sort of stablemates in the top 5, and there's the yellow flags there.
Number 119 has come down. That's the Team Slider Endurance team. One of the contenders in Superstock. They were running 5th in the class with Charles Diller on board, sharing that with Rodi Pak-Azrin, the Turkish rider, and Jacopo Cazzaro from Italy, plus Daniel Gonzalez from Spain. Charles Diller, the 4th rider in that team. He's had a spill. Rider okay, we are told. Saw the yellow flags there. That means no overtaking, but the gap comes down all the time. It was 5.5 seconds. It's now 4.7 seconds between Gregory LeBlanc and Greg Black. The Suzuki continues to try and move itself back up into P3. Greg Black riding superbly in the early hours of the morning. I think we caught a glimpse of the Kawasaki there. He may be struggling with a couple of back markers there. You can see them up the road ahead.
There it is. There's, yeah, 2 super stockers. In fact, one immediately in front of Greg Black, who's just run wide in the excitement, just going wide there at Recordement. So, yeah, Greg obviously must have caught that flash of green in the distance as well and got a little bit excited. Missed his braking marker, but, yeah, gets back on the gas straight away. So, yeah, there it is. It's getting very, very close now. And, yeah, as a result of that crash for the Slider team there, the 3R Yamaha has just moved up into 5th place in the super stockers. So that's cost that accident there for Charles Diller has cost their team 5th place. Next up the road, but a lap, 2 laps further behind them, is that Sapeur Pompier at number 18 Yamaha.
So when is Greg Black going to see that green Kawasaki directly ahead of him? We'll wait and see. We said about 8 laps time, didn't we? So it's counting down to it. There's just under 4.5 seconds between the 2 machines now, as you can see on the timing tower on the left of your screen, as we watch the 2nd place machine of Ilya Michalczyk. Waiting for confirmation on who's just taken over the Tati Team Behringer machine from Randy Krummenacker. We haven't had the notification there as yet as to who's on board the number 4. It's Corentin Perolari, the young Frenchman. His riding style has been compared to that of the experienced Randy de Punier. He has bags of potential, the Frenchman. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Bike 119 sent to Technical Bay has just come up here. So that's Team Slider Endurance. They went sliding at turn 7 and that machine's been sent for possibly a look over by the scrutineers to make sure it's is safe to be repaired and continue racing.
Yeah, they will be having a BDI of that team on their case because, yeah, they've only got a couple of laps buffer between themselves and the Sapeur Pompier, and then swiftly up the road behind them comes the Techmas MRP BMW, so they are set to lose a couple of positions if they take a little bit too long there. And then just 3-4 further laps back there is Michael Dunlop on the TRT 27 bike. There's the Kawasaki, and that looks like the Suzuki almost immediately behind. So now, here we are. This is the battle for 3rd, we believe, just peering through the murk. That appears to be the Suzuki, and that is the Kawasaki right in front of them. So here we are, battle for the podium positions. And you've got to say, it can't be much of a battle because Greg Black is absolutely romping up to the back wheel of that Kawasaki.
That's actually, I think, the Team Bolliger
you're
Kawasaki
right.
just in front of him, so he's got to lap that first. LeBlanc is a little further ahead. The 2 green bikes caught us out slightly there as they battle away for 3rd. So Greg Black continues to hunt down. It was the number 8 of Alex Toledo Romero, the Spaniard, being lapped there in P8 on the number 8. You can tell the 2 Kawasaki's apart because the number 8 has got the Motorex oil sponsorship, the turquoise, on the lower part of the fairing and the rear wheel there. That's how you tell the colours apart. A bit tricky to do in the darkness.
Thank you for making that excuse for me. Yes, the fact that they got a big number 8 on the front also.
It caught me out as well at first, so we're both guilty. Apologies there.
There we go. But yeah, it is the number 11 that the Suzuki are chasing down. It certainly won't be long before Greg sees that bike on his horizon there. Greg with the other Greg, Monsieur Leblanc, is currently there, and it's 1.462 seconds now the gap as they cross the line. Greg Black stalking. You can hear the Jaws music building there for the Kawasaki team. That is the exact Kawasaki we're talking about now in his sights as we timefully join the onboard camera as through they go to that treacherous downhill slope. I can't imagine how cold and slick that must feel. These professional riders earning their stripes and the cash by continually firing around these circuits at great speeds. 1 minute 39.6 for Michalczyk, but 1 minute 37.008 for Greg Black. That's a fast time for this time of the night.
That's 2 seconds quicker than everybody else on that last lap. He's flying along.
he got excited. It was maybe thought it was the other Kawasaki as well, perhaps. Got the hammer down, and it's bringing him up now. You can see the reflective panels there of the blue armbands of Greg LeBlanc.
Yes, now they're together.
Most definitely, this is the battle for third. Look at the speed difference there. That was visual as Greg Black flew into sight from the left to the right as they flicked through.
This is at Garage Bleu towards the end of the lap. Still the Kawasaki has it at the moment, coming round towards Raccordemont to complete their 455th lap of this Le Mans Bugatti circuit. And now Greg Black has got the Kawasaki right in his sights. He's almost on the exhaust pipe there as they go across the line. Here he comes. He's going to make the move as they go into the Dunlop curve. Greg Black up the inside, and the Suzuki moves back into a podium position, up into P3. Superb from Greg Black.
Yeah, visual speed difference there for the Suzuki. So, yeah, now then, the sights are now set, always somewhere to go. And, yeah, they now have a 2-lap buffer to catch up to the BMW, and it would certainly appear that they have the pace to do so because, yeah, absolutely flying is Greg Black. We'll see how it all pans out, of course, during the race, but yeah, lap number 455 for LeBlanc and Black, and it's lap number 460 for the Yamaha out in front at the moment. So they are certainly enjoying the fact that they have not had issues that Suzuki have suffered, and that's caused the difference there and that 5-lap gap.
Battle continues then here at Le Mans for the final podium place. Greg Black now up into third place on the Suzuki for Yoshimura SERT Moto, ahead of the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar machine of 5-time Le Mans winner Gregory Leblanc, sharing with Christian Gamarino and Roman Ramos. But Greg Black has certainly redeemed himself for that earlier spill, and he charged down over several laps. The green machine ahead of him dealt expertly with the back markers and was able to make the move going into that fast sweeper at the fastest part of the course, going into the Dunlop curve last time around. And now he's pulling away. We'll see what the gap is back to Gregory Leblanc as they cross the line this time through. Now the gap is 1.6 seconds already. He's pulled away. Last lap was 136.9, so he's into the 136s now. Greg Black is just getting quicker and quicker. He monsters past one of the back markers there as you go under the Dunlop Bridge, down out of the chicane, and then through into the La Chapelle. Long right-hander, then up towards the left at Le Musée. Greg Black riding superbly, by far the fastest man on track at the moment. He's the only man in the 136s. The next quickest on that last lap was Ilya Michalczyk with a 138.0. Karel Haneke continues to lead as we look again at that move. That's Greg Black running wide a lap or two before he made the move on the Kawasaki. But then he was able to line it up. He got the better exit from the final corner. He was able to get the line away. Nothing Gregory Leblanc could do as the Suzuki moved through. They're doing almost 300 kilometers an hour up the straight there into the right-hander. And into third place goes Suzuki, continuing its recovery from that spill earlier on.
Yeah, you see a replay of the pass there, and they're in a nice sweet spot as well. The Suzuki's got 10 laps to go before their next stop is due, so the fuel load has come down. The tyres should still have some good life in them as well. So, yeah, the advantage is being taken there by Greg Black to bring that machine up into third position. So yeah, we'll see how they lie. So right now, the order in EWC is as follows. Number 1 out in front, the Yamaha leads from the number 37 BMW in second, and the number 12 Yoshimura Suzuki is now up to third. Fourth and fifth lie the WeBike Trickstar Kawasaki, still there in fourth, and number 4 Tati Team Behringer Racing still lies in fifth place. Behind a couple of super stockers, sixth in EWC is the number 8 Team Bolliger Switzerland, the second of the Kawasaki's out in the track, and then the third of the Kawasaki's right behind them, running well in their debut race in the EWC class, seventh in the class right now for the number 24 BMRT 3D Maxxis Nevers team, and then in eighth is the number 65 Motobox Kramer outfit. That certainly is as high as they're used to running, and then we've got a whole plethora of super stock bikes down a P16, which is where we see our 9th EWC bike, which is the 77 Wojcik Racing team, who've had their issues in this race, and then 10th in EWC is currently our guest team there, the Mana Competition Honda, currently being piloted by Christian Palomares. That's the number 53 bike. So that's your top 10 in EWC. As you can see on the side of your screens there, the black dots are EWC, red of course are super stock, much as just as their number plates are. And then just to quickly run through super stock for you, P6 and P7 on track, but first and second in the super stock class is still National Motos Honda from RAC Kronberner, 2 laps between them. Third now is Team Etoile up into P11 on circuit. Fourth is Luca Bernardini on the 111 Avio bike Aprilia. Fifth for 3 Art Best of Bike Yamaha, and then we've got Sapper Pompier 6th, the Tecmas MRP Aprilia 7th. The 119 Slider outfit has slid down to 8th place at the moment and still not back. Are they still on track? Not sure. We'll catch up with that in a minute. But yeah, 9th is TRT 27 with Michael Dunlop still on board. And in 10th place, number 72, the junior team Le Mans Suzuki.
Yeah, the 119 bike was being checked by scrutineers, so we're not sure if that one's back out there yet. Mentioning the Wojcik team, they've had problems with both of their machines, and I noticed that currently on the 77 bike is Balint Kovács, the Hungarian rider. Now, he was down as the reserve for that team because they've gone for an all homegrown Polish lineup for the number 77 EWC machine this year. I've seen Juran Kuzmiasik out there and Kamil Ksemien, but it may be Artur Wilewski who is not racing for them, because we've got Balint Kovács out there. So I think Artur Wilewski unable to race on that machine. We've seen a couple of changes. I mentioned number 14 earlier on, brought in their reserve Max Meltzer to replace Martin Vugrinec. Reserve riders certainly playing a part this year.
Yeah, so it qualified 13th, the Wojcik team, so yeah, they are still now in the top 10, still maybe slightly overachieving from their qualifying position. They did finish 9th in this race last year, but 19th in the overall championship, so it wasn't a great 2023 for Wojcik, and they're now trying to recover to at least get a decent start to the 2024 championship.
464 laps completed, 13 pit stops completed by the leading Yamaha, ridden by Karel Hanika. Ilya Michalczyk 4 laps behind, and the BMW are likely to be due for a pit stop soon, I think.
That Slider bike is still being checked out because it's now lost another position, and for British fans, they can raise a little cheer there. TRT 27 AZ Moto, the Honda there, piloted right now by Michael Dunlop. They have just moved up the position, and that has seen them into 8th place there in the Superstock class. So climbing the order slightly there for Michael Dunlop and the boys in that TRT 27 squad.
I called that well because the BMW has just come in, Ilya Michalczyk, for its 13th stop of the race. Now, notice the Suzuki was very low coming through La Chapelle there. Sparks flying from the rear of the bike. Greg Black was leaning it right over, so all adds to the atmosphere and the drama. We've got glowing brake discs, got flames from some of the exhaust, now sparks flying from the rear swing arms of the machine as Greg Black is really throwing that Suzuki around. He's still almost 2 seconds a lap faster than everybody else at the moment. He may be 2 laps down on our second place bike, the BMW, which Sylvain Guintoli has just taken over from Ilya Michalczyk. It continues its chase for a podium place, but we're not predicting anything at the moment. The Yamaha may be 4 laps ahead, but we've still got another 11 hours of this 24-hour race to go, so we can't make any predictions yet.
No, absolutely, and Greg just proving what a Terminator is in control of this bike, really stomping down the laps now, still staying under that 1:37 bracket, which is certainly elite level pace. Their best lap time is 1:36.213, and that was set quite a ways ago there. And yeah, in fact, this screen's not telling me quite when that was, but yeah, we'll get to the bottom of that. But yeah, from that side, they certainly are romping on, and now he's trying to catch his ex-teammate, if you like. Sylvain Guintoli is now at the helm of the BMW, and yeah, Greg obviously won the Le Mans with Sylvain a couple of times, and plenty of friendly there. And the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar bike is now in the pits as well. So yeah, this is certainly the key time for the main contenders, all changing their riders and trying to get onto terms with each other. 3.7 seconds was the gap between them as they came in, but of course, yeah, Kawasaki, having been overtaken, they just don't have the pace to hold on to that Suzuki.
Just waiting to see who's going to take over from Gregory LeBlanc here, the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar team. Will it be Christian Gamarino, the Italian, or Roman Ramos, the Spaniard? We'll wait and confirm that. It is Gamarino who has taken over, won the Superstock World Cup last season with Team 33 Louis Aprilmoto, who are, of course, out of this race with some damage to the bike. A broken radiator couldn't be repaired after a spill earlier on. That was, I think, Flavio Ferroni, sorry, who came off that machine, the other Italian in that four-rider lineup.
There's our update there after 13 hours of the 24, so 11 to go. That's your standings as they run. And you can see there that the nestling into the top 10 there are the top two Superstock machines, National Motors Honda and Chrome Burner RAC Honda. Also, just further down, which will flip onto your screens very shortly, and just out of sight, actually, of this screen, next along, the number 72 has now lifted themselves up into 9th place because the Slider Endurance bike continues to slide down the standings. Also, just peeking into screen now, we'll see the number 5 machine, NP21. So that is seeing them into the order. 9 Superstockers in front of them at that point. So that means that they are still 12th in EWC. If you finish in EWC, you're going to collect points anyway, just for the fact that there's less than 20 EWC machines even entered. But yeah, of course, points make prizes, and they will continue to try and press on and claim some more. Trying to get into the top 10 must surely be their goal now.
Yes, points awarded at the 8-hour and 16-hour marks as well. We saw the Yamaha pick up the 10 points for leading 8 hours through the race. That's at 10 p.m. UK time, 11 p.m. local time. That's 6 a.m. UK time, 7 a.m. local time. We'll see the points awarded for the 16-hour mark in this race. We've gone past 13 hours meanwhile. So just past 3 a.m. UK time, 4 a.m. local time here at Le Mans, racing on into the small hours of the morning. This is the number 41 machine, the Chrome Burner RAC 41 Honda, currently running second in the hands of Martin Renaudin in the Superstock category. They're 2 laps down on the number 55 National Moto Honda. So Honda's 1 and 2 in Superstock. Third is the number 25, the all-Japanese crewed BMW for Team Etoile. Fourth